Cannot even tell you how many people have asked me to do this, because apparently this guy from the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial reminds a lot of people of this guy. So here you go.
I'm an expert witness. I'm saying as an expert witness.
Let's start with the easy question then.
That was pretty easy. Go ahead.
Doctor, you're going to have to just answer the questions.
Okay, sorry about that. Having trouble getting into this side.
You need to just answer the question.
Okay. I'm not sure why we're arguing psychiatry, because I'm telling you what it is.
Dr. Siegel, you just need to answer the question.
Okay.
Mr. Depp fell asleep with ice cream in his hand. That's not vomitous, right?
I was told it was vomitous.
Okay.
It does fit just a little too well, doesn't it?
Hello and welcome to everyone that's tuned in so far. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are about to start the stream for the Leilani Simon versus GA versus Leilani Simon trial, and yeah, we are almost there. Thank you so much for if you're choosing to watch this back on replay. Again, guys, I appreciate everyone that are here. If you were here for day 3, you would know that there was a lot of fireworks going on in this particular day. So without further, let's roll the intro. Hello everyone, thank you so much for tuning in onto today's show. I go by the name of Hines, also known as Ketchup Man. Thank you once again for tuning in. There is a lot that we have to go through today in regards to this trial. Once again, let me just adjust my mic. It has already begun, so we're not gonna talk much to introduce it. For those that missed out on day 3, It ended on the ex-boyfriend taking a stand to testify as to what happened on that fateful day that Quinton Simon was unfortunately taken from us, and he details what exactly Leilani was saying to him. But but the most interesting revelation out of that was the change of story from going to 204. The store to buy the gel, from to going to Misty's residence. And without further, we're gonna continue on from where we stopped, because the court is now back in session. And yeah, like that change of story has changed everything in terms of the outlook of this trial, at least for me at least, because I need some convincing from her side, either from cross-examination of Marian Lemons, who was testifying to the interviews that she was doing with Leilani Simon, or from the cross-exam of the boyfriend. I want to see what comes out of that, and also the defense case. I want to see what they put on to explain away all of these inconsistencies, because it is bad for our case that these inconsistencies exist the way they are. So without further, I'm going to continue on and press play on the trial. So yeah, let's go ahead. Let me just fast forward a little bit.
Georgia versus Leilani Marie Simon. The state is represented by AUSA Tim Dean, ADA Jenny Parker, and seated with them is Detective Marian Lemons. Let the record reflect that Ms. Simon is present with her counsel, Martin Hilliard and Robert Purse. Turning to the state, is the state ready to proceed?
State is ready, Your Honor.
So today is day 4.
Defense is ready, Judge.
All right.
Everyone's where we left off, the state had concluded its direct examination of Daniel Youngkin. then Mr. Hilliard, you're going to begin with the cross-examination of Daniel Youngkin.
I am, Judge, and I think I've got the technical issues worked out, but we'll have to wait and see. No,
It's not just you, mate. It's not just you. I go
Are you
through the
ready
same
to
thing,
see
the
the
same
facts?
technical issues.
All right, please call Daniel Youngkin,
It also exists here.
or recall Daniel Youngkin. Well, before we bring Mr. Youngkin in, let's call in the jury. I always leave off the very important people here, so let's call in the jury.
It's not just me. I'm so glad it's just not me that just get these things wrong.
Thank you, Mr. Parker.
It's not just me. It's not just me. Technical difficulties happens everywhere, so I'm happy with that.
Okay. Ms. Delia.
Well, there we go. Thank you, Court, for making me feel better at least. Let me fast forward it a little bit so that we can catch up. Jury.
Comply with the court with anyone?
Yeah, we all
Did
complied.
any of you view any media?
Nope.
Okay. Looks like everybody has responded in the appropriate way. Thank you very much. I'm going to now turn to Mr. Hilliard.
All right. Let's see what the cross-examination brings.
Please call Mr. Youngkin. Oath. And Mr. Youngkin, just to be clear, you do understand that you are under oath. You were sworn in yesterday and you remain under oath at this time for cross-examination.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hilliard.
Since yesterday, have you spoken with anyone about the case or your testimony?
No.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to approach, if I could, the witness of State Exhibit 9 and have you look at it real quick. You could just briefly state what that is.
The layout of the house
Okay.
on Buckhalter Road.
And if you would, just explain to the jury where the front door is that the room that y'all lived in and slept in?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if you would, how to explain where the front door is. We've seen pictures. Give me 1 second. I might can give you a better picture. I'm going to show you, we've already been tendered and submitted a State's Exhibit number 10 and picture 26 of State's Exhibit number 10. Is that the front door of 535 Buckhalter?
Yes, sir.
And is this, as you enter the doorway, a picture of the sofa to the left?
Yes, sir.
And the picture to the right is kind of over in the corner. It's the race car. That's where Zane slept.
Yes, sir.
And this is the TV.
Yes, sir.
And I assume there's a little chair in front of it, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that's the crib that Quinton slept in, correct?
Yes, sir. The playpen.
And that's the pictures of inside the crib, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now I'm going to go all the way back here. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm trying to understand the back part of the room. If I can get to it. The back part of the room, as you walk in the door and look all the way to the back, is where the bed was, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you have to walk past the bed in order to walk in and out the back door, the dining room. Let me rephrase that. Is this about where the bed's at in the back part of the house?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And this is where you have to walk through to get out through the dining room and living room, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, on the night of October 5th, were you sleeping in that bed?
Yes, sir.
And was Miss Simon sleeping in that bed with you?
At some point.
At some point. Okay. So, and again, not trying to put words in your mouth. The bed, in order to walk in and out the back dining room or living room door, you have to walk right by that bed, correct?
Yes, sir. You have to walk by it.
And it's in the back part of the room away from the children, correct?
Yes, sir. Towards the window in the corner.
Okay. And you say that's where you were sleeping, correct?
Yes, sir.
So it wasn't upstairs, it wasn't a different bedroom, it wasn't anything like that.
No, sir.
So, what time did you wake up on the morning of October 5th?
I would believe around right before I sent the text message to Miss Michelle.
And that would, and I'm not trying to put
5:18.
So 5:15, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And then you texted Miss Michelle, correct?
Yes, sir.
And when you woke up and texted Miss Michelle, I assume you then left to go to work, correct?
I got ready and left. Yes, sir.
All right. And what did you drive on the way to work?
The Dodge Journey.
And I'm going to show you some pictures. Mark the State's Exhibit 11. If you would look through State's Exhibit 11. Is that the Dodge Journey that you drove?
Yes, sir.
All right, so you left and you went to work, clocked in around 6:10, 6:15, correct?
Yes, sir. Whatever time the clock can has me at. Yes, sir.
All right. Did you make any stops along the way?
No, sir.
All right. You see in there a curveball, a fireball, and a natural light container, correct? As well as an orange vest or some sort of color.
Fireball, Sprite, another shot, orange vest, natural light. Yep.
And were those yours?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when did you deposit in there?
To be honest, I don't know.
But they're yours.
Yeah.
And I'm going to assume on October 5th, police sees the van, correct?
Yeah, it was in the parking, in the driveway.
Just trying to set up. Okay. But were those fair and accurate pictures of the van that morning?
Yes, sir.
So do you know what time you left the house?
Not precisely.
Okay. And where exactly is the warehouse you work at?
Port Wentworth.
So that time of morning, what's the drive like?
Pretty heavy traffic for the most part.
How long does it normally take you to get there?
20, 25
20,
minutes.
25 minutes? Okay. And I was curious, Mr. Dean played the video of you running in and then running out a short time later. What were you running in for?
I was probably a few minutes late.
You're already 10 or 15 minutes late though, weren't you?
I don't know to be precise. Whatever time his clock in was.
Whatever the clock says is what it was, but you were already late, right?
Sure.
Okay. Now, you said that you and Miss Simon met in 2020, correct?
Somewhere along those lines.
Okay. And that was in Dunn, North Carolina?
In person, yeah.
Right. And that was where you were at, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And she traveled up there. Y'all lived together for a minute, correct?
Absolutely.
How old are you, Mr. Youngkin? And today?
Today, I'm 30.
How old you have been back then? 28, 27?
27, 26.
In 2020, you'd have been 26, correct?
Yeah.
In October of 2022, probably 28, 27, something like that.
Yeah.
All right. So, when did you move back to Savannah?
I moved to Savannah. I didn't move back to Savannah.
Or when did you move to Savannah then?
4 or 5 months into her pregnancy.
All right. So when was Sky born? In what year? What month?
June 5th,
2022. Am I correct? All right. So it would have
Yes,
been
sir.
again February, March of 2022. You moved down here, maybe.
Sounds about right.
And you lived at 535 Buckhalter, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that was Billy and Thomas's house, right?
Yes, sir.
Did you pay any rent while you lived there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you paid it to Billy and Thomas?
Cash app it to Billy.
Okay. And you lived there, and I'm just trying to recount it. When you first moved in, it was Joe that lived there, right?
Yes, sir. We lived upstairs.
Right. And it was you and Zane and Quinton and Leilani and Billy and Thomas and Joe, right?
Before Sky was born, yeah.
Right. And then Sky was born. And then if I just remember correctly, then Joe moved out and Paul moved in, correct?
Somewhere along those lines, yeah.
So around the summer of 2022, that's an accurate picture of who was residing in the house, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, is it safe to say that y'all both took care of these kids and took the kids back and forth to the babysitter?
For the most part, it was me.
For the most part, it was you?
Yeah.
Okay. So on a daily basis, who was the one that would normally take them over to the babysitter?
Me.
All right. And how often would Leilani do it?
Rarely.
All right. So, and who would pick him up in the afternoon?
Me.
All right.
If she worked, then both of us. If she worked.
If she worked? Okay. And so it was not unusual that you were the one who took care of these children, correct?
Correct.
All right. And it's not uncommon that you were the one that interacted with the babysitter, correct?
Correct.
And now let's talk about how often would you drink?
Daily.
How often daily?
Just said daily.
As I stated yesterday, about 5 shots of Fireball and 3 to 4 25-ounce beers.
Okay. And when did you normally drink? What was your routine?
Well, I couldn't leave work, so I'd go to work and I'd get off work and I'd stop by the liquor store in Port Wentworth on the way back to the house.
Did you ever stop by on the way to work?
No, they weren't open.
Did you ever drink before work?
They weren't open.
That's not the same question.
No,
as
sir.
drinking. Okay, you can buy it ahead of time.
No, I drank to where there was nothing left.
So it's safe to say that your drinking habits were mostly after work and in the evenings.
Yeah.
And you, by your own admission, drank 4 or 5 Fireballs, and at least in this case, we knew a curveball and Natural Light. And then you said the 25 ounce, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so now let's talk about the week leading up to October 5th. Were you and Leilani bickering or fighting that week?
Probably.
Okay. Let me ask a more refined question then. You said it was not unusual for her to go to Arkwright Road. Why is that?
For her to what?
Not unusual for. You said it was not unusual for her to go to Arkwright Road. Why was that?
To where?
Arkwright Road. 204.
No, not unusual.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. After she had her wisdom teeth out on October 4th, did y'all go by 204 on the way home?
Possibly.
Possibly? Or
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
No.
All right. Well, do you recall saying that you did?
I said it was a possibility, or we probably did. I mean, I know I told you I went by the liquor store while she was at the dentist's office. So I had already drank at that point.
Well, what kind of drinker are you? Are you a blackout drinker or a pass-out drinker?
Neither.
Okay.
What kind of question is
Well,
that?
you just said you didn't remember. You'd already been by the liquor store. I was wondering what going by the liquor store would have to do with affecting your memory.
I just don't have great memory. I used to do a lot of drugs.
I told you. I
Alright.
called
What kind
it
of drugs did you
yesterday.
used to do,
I
Mr.
called it.
Quinton?
He was gonna go on this memory.
Cocaine and marijuana.
And let me ask this.
This is not how you
In
discredit
the
an
weeks,
honest
days,
witness.
and hours leading up to October 5th, were you doing cocaine, marijuana, and alcohol?
Not marijuana, but cocaine and alcohol, yes, sir.
And when were you doing cocaine and alcohol?
After work,
On a daily basis?
yeah.
So, matter of fact, if you didn't drink and drug, it would have been unusual. Correct?
Yeah.
Now, when you did drink and drug, where did you normally do it at?
In the house.
Where at in the house?
On a dresser that was next to the bed,
Right. So you would do it in the room where the kids were.
unfortunately.
Okay. And I'm not trying to pry or anything, just asking. So whenever you, and there's different ways to do it. You can smoke cocaine,
No.
sniff cocaine,
Yes.
you can shoot cocaine.
No.
How did you do cocaine?
Sniff.
So when you're doing that, wouldn't you have to explain how you would normally do that? How would you sniff the cocaine? What was your routine?
Come on, man.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
That is the dumbest.
Would you buy it,
Yeah.
or would you send Leilani to buy it?
I would buy it, or she would go buy it. I don't get
Okay.
it.
And did you have a dresser? You said the dresser that you put it on was in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you leave it on the dresser? Would you put it on a plate? What would you do with it?
On the dresser, it would be in a bag, or sniff it out of the bag, or put a line on the dresser and sniff it off the dresser.
All right. So and that's kind of the point I'm getting to. It's either in the bag on the dresser and you sniff it from the bag.
The dresser is like this tall.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just asking. The point is it was out on the dresser in the bedroom where the children were. That's my point.
Sure.
Okay. Now, is cocaine more of a stimulant or more of a depressant? Does cocaine give you energy or does cocaine make you sleepy?
For me,
Yes.
sleepy, honestly.
And that's a fair assessment. So cocaine makes you sleepy. Does alcohol make you sleepy or energize you?
I kind of just evened out.
So in your case, cocaine made you sleepy and alcohol would give you a little bit of energy and it kind of evened you out.
Sure.
Now, when you did cocaine, would you also drink?
Yes.
Okay. And how much would you drink at that point in time?
I don't have an exact measurement.
Okay. Did you smoke at the same time?
No, I didn't smoke. I didn't smoke marijuana. I was not.
Cigarettes?
Cigarettes?
Yes.
Not often.
But when you did cocaine and drank, would you smoke cigarettes?
Sure.
Okay. And when you smoke cigarettes, would you smoke the cigarettes in the house or outside the house?
Outside.
And why was that?
So the house didn't smell like cigarettes?
And it wasn't your house, was it?
No, it wasn't.
Okay. And I'm going to assume, and again, I don't think you had permission to smoke in the house, did you?
No, sir.
And I'm fairly certain you didn't have permission to do cocaine in the house either, did you?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, so you're not sure if you went to 204 after she had her wisdom teeth out. Y'all came home. You stopped by Cheddar's on the way home, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Got something to eat, came home, and she took her medicine and knocked herself out, right?
Sure. I'm not 100% sure. I honestly can't say for certain. But I mean, yeah, that's my recollection of it.
All right. Well, let me ask you this. Y'all lived in this room, right?
For the most part,
Okay. It's an open room, correct?
yeah.
The bed's in that room, correct?
Yes, sir.
The entertainment for the children is in that room, correct?
Yes, sir.
The place the children sleep is in that room, correct?
Yes, sir.
If you were interacting with the children, laying down, watching TV, or doing any of these things in your room, and she was sleeping, you would notice it, correct?
More than likely, yeah. I mean, as I said yesterday, we were at a point to where I didn't really pay much attention to what she was doing.
Okay. Well, do you recall telling the police that she went to sleep that afternoon?
Yeah, I mean,
Any reason why you'd make that up?
no.
Okay. So, what time did she wake up that afternoon?
I don't remember.
All right. How did the kids get back from Michelle's that afternoon?
I believe we both went and picked them up
So, and what time was that?
around 4:30 or 5.
All right. Which is a normal time, right?
I guess. I mean, it's a couple hours later because we normally get off at like 2 or 3.
All right. So, 5 o'clock. Quinton's fine, Zane's fine, and Sky's fine, correct?
Yes, sir.
At 6 o'clock on the evening of October 4th, Quinton's fine, Zane's fine, and Sky's fine, correct?
Yes, sir.
What are you and Leilani doing at that point in time?
I don't remember.
Okay. 7 o'clock, are the children fine?
Yes, to my knowledge.
What are you and Leilani doing at 7 o'clock?
I can't say for certain.
8 o'clock, are the children fine?
Yeah, to my knowledge. Absolutely.
What are you and Leilani doing at 8 o'clock?
I can't be 100% certain. I was probably making dinner.
Okay. And 10 o'clock, the kids are laying down for bed, going to sleep at this point in time, correct?
Yeah.
Zane's
As was I.
Zane's in his bed, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you actually lay eyes on him?
I mean, he's visible.
Okay. Quentin's in his bed. Did you actually lay eyes on him?
He's not as visible, but yes.
Okay. And Sky's in her, I guess it's like crib or whatever it is, next to the couch, right? And you actually laid eyes on her as well, correct?
Yeah, she was at the end of the bed.
All right. So at 10 o'clock, kids are fine. You're there. Are you drinking or drugging at this point in time?
10 o'clock?
Yes.
No.
And so at 10 o'clock, was there any conversation about going to 204 that night between you and Leilani?
Yeah, there's text messages.
And what was the nature of that conversation?
She said she was going to go to 204 and come back. I said, okay, can you make it quick? I'd like to watch a movie and go to sleep so we can go to work.
All right. And that's basically what your text message said.
Yeah.
Come on back. See you soon.
Please,
Let's watch a movie, right?
please, yes.
So there was no, at least I'm not putting your words in your mouth. From the text messages, there didn't seem to be any animosity between y'all at that point in time, correct?
For the most part,
Yeah. You're just looking forward to laying down, watching a movie together, right?
for the most part.
And again, were you drinking or doing any drugs that night?
That night?
Yes.
You said 10 o'clock.
And that night, after this, anytime that night.
Prior to 10 o'clock, yeah, prior to when I laid down, yes.
Okay, what were you doing prior to 10 o'clock?
Drinking and the rest of the little bit of cocaine I had.
So you were drinking and doing cocaine up to 10 o'clock. And is that why you sent her to 204 to get some more?
I didn't send her to 204. She was the one who said she wanted to go to 204. That's in the text messages.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Who would normally get the drugs, you or her?
That were her people.
And would y'all share drugs or
Yes.
would you keep it separate?
Share it for the most part.
Alright, so if you got some cocaine or some weed or some
I didn't get weed.
Percocets,
I didn't get Percocet.
right? But if you got cocaine, you'd share.
Yeah?
And if she got it, she'd share.
No.
No.
No. She was selfish.
Okay, so you would share drugs, but she wouldn't.
Yeah.
Did that cause any anger or animosity between you?
No, not really.
Okay.
Not for me.
Really? Okay. So whenever you do you remember speaking with the police on October 5th? I believe it was an FBI agent and a detective from Chatham County Police Department.
Yeah,
Okay. Do you remember when they took you down to the station and interviewed you?
for a very long period of time.
Right. And do you remember that conversation with him?
There were quite a few.
Let's just start at the beginning then. Do you remember telling them there's nothing weird about her going to Arkwright Drive?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's not anything weird about it.
And when Leilani got back from 204, were you awake or asleep?
I was asleep.
You remember telling them that you were awake when she got back?
No, I don't remember, to be 100% honest. I really don't.
All right. And do you remember telling them you got up at 3 to take care of Sky?
It's possible that I did.
Okay. And do you remember saying that everything was fine at that point in time?
Possibly.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Whenever you would come and go from the house, did you come through the front door, or did you always drive around back and come in through the dining room or living room doors?
Never through the front door.
And that's because the parking's in the back, right?
Yes.
Okay. And it would not be unusual or uncommon that those doors are the ones that get all the movement, are they?
No, not uncommon.
Okay. And whose responsibility was it to lock those doors or secure those doors at night?
Everybody's? Whoever came in last.
But would it surprise you if those doors opened and closed a lot and weren't locked and stayed open?
Yes.
Okay. Would that be unusual?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember going out, and again, you said you didn't smoke often, but would you go out on the patio to smoke when you did smoke?
The front or the back? It would depend.
Okay. But you would?
Sure.
Okay. Now, do you remember just a few minutes into the interview with the FBI agent, the Chatham County police officer, you got a little angry?
Possibly.
Remember saying it feels weird, I'm having a bad day, and
No.
okay. Well, it's been a long day, so. Do you remember telling them that you were a little antsy and you needed a drink?
Probably.
Okay. Now, do you remember telling them that when you woke up at 3 a.m. that Leilani was asleep?
No. Well, if I did, then that's probably something she told me to say.
Okay. And you remember telling them Quinton was okay at 3 o'clock?
Probably based on what she told me to say.
Mr. Youngkin, are you sitting here saying what you've been told to say?
Right now, no.
Okay. So you have free will, correct?
Absolutely.
All right. Now, let's talk about that first day as well. Was that the day that you authorized the FBI to tap your phone for 90 days? 30 days at a time, I guess I should say.
What day? The date started on, I think it was the 8th. I think it was 10/8, 2022.
October 8th. All right, well, I'll ask that question. Let's just go back. That day, October 5th, did y'all go back to Buckhalter Road that day?
I believe it was it was like 2 or 3 a.m.
Okay, so it was October 6th.
Yeah.
Okay. And when was it y'all went to the hotel?
The 7th, maybe? I don't know 100%.
But you had agreed to
Absolutely.
have the video done, the audio done, and then give them your phone done, correct?
The phone happened later, but yes, I did.
Okay. And you say the phone happened later. They didn't dump it that day, October 5th?
What do you mean? Oh,
extract
Permission,
it.
I thought you were talking about the 30 days at a time.
No. I'm talking about just actually giving them your phone.
Yeah, on the 5th, absolutely.
Right, because I remember you asked on the 5th to get your phone back, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I did.
So,
And I got it back.
all right, so now, did you notice anything about Quinton's crib the evening of October 4th,
No.
early morning hours of October 5th?
No.
Anything unusual about it?
No. I wasn't really looking at that point, but no.
Okay. And I wonder if I could approach the witness for 1 second. If you would look through that real quick. Don't say what it is, just look through it. It depends.
Okay.
Well, so far it's been interesting. The defense are just trying to, in my opinion, discredit him by the use of his drugs, to say that he was not certain with the communication that he had with Leilani.
Do you recognize any of these
That's
messages?
what they're trying to get at.
Yeah.
Okay. And what are these messages?
Text messages between me and Leilani.
Okay. And if you would turn to, I guess, the very back one. Let's start in the back and kind of work forward. You see the one from September 30th at 8:04?
Yes.
This is about 5 days prior to Quinton's disappearance, is it not?
Yeah.
And it's from who to who?
From me to her.
All right. And if you would, what did you say to her that particular day?
Like, I'm always supposed to deal with your asshole moves and the mean ass kids when you get mad and dip and take shit from me.
What particular shit are you talking about here, Mr. Youngkin?
Money, drugs.
And which mean-ass kids are you referring to here, Mr. Youngkin?
All three.
Well, Sky's an infant, so I'm
Yeah,
fairly
she was
certain.
being mean that day.
How can an infant be mean, Mr. Youngkin?
She wasn't being mean. She was just crying a lot.
Okay. So how would Quinton or Zane be mean? They're children,
Zane,
Mr. Youngkin.
Zane was a handful
How's that?
because he was always high energy and high strung and didn't want to go to sleep when we would say that. And I would be the one that would always deal with him.
Okay. All right, let's look at the next one. It looks like this one's just a few minutes later. September 30th at 8:47.
Yeah, I said, I'm such an idiot. I see it.
Well, you said a little bit more than that.
I am such a ducking idiot. I see it.
And you meant to say something else, but
Yeah, well, autocorrect.
all right, let's go on to the next one on September 30th at 8:46.
Yes.
That's from you to who?
These aren't in order.
No, they're not. Admittedly.
I said, still at 2:04. WTF taking so long?
What's that referring to?
Why was she still gone?
Well, what would she go to 2:04 for?
For herself, probably.
So,
Or us, both.
All right. Drugs, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. That would be the only, to my knowledge.
2 or
And
4.
so you were a little irritated because she wasn't back with the drugs, weren't you? Just forget it.
I was just, no, it wasn't because she wasn't back with the drugs, 'cause she wasn't back.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go on to the next one, if you would. September 30th at 9.
Yeah, and you fucking wonder why I'm just trying to drink, do drugs, and sleep.
And this was September 30th at 9 p.m.
Uh-huh. Yes, sir. Sorry. I apologize. Absolutely.
So, did that pretty much sum up what you were looking to do at that point in time in your life?
Yeah. Honestly.
I'm going to ask it's not a flippant question, but at this point in time, you're a grown man, 28 years old.
Sure.
Just leave.
Just leave my daughter?
Mm-hmm.
No. No, sir.
All right. So you understand it's an option, though.
Not in my eyes.
So, but you would rather stay, drink, do drugs, and sleep.
I'd rather be there for my daughter.
I understand. Let me ask you this. When you're drinking, doing drugs, and sleeping, how are you there for your daughter?
Not as well as I should have been.
Oh, not at all. Really, are you?
That's an opinion.
Is that your opinion?
That I could have done better, yes.
Now, that's all the ones for September 30th. Let's look on October 1st. This is 4 days prior. At 12:26 a.m. From,
Are you asking me to read all these?
well, I'm asking you, who's this from and who's it to?
What time?
The 12:26.
It's from her to me.
And what does it say?
You almost had your whole bag, and some of both of the bags that I had went and bought.
What bags is she referring to?
Cocaine, which was inaccurate.
So you went through both bags as well.
That's inaccurate.
It may be inaccurate, but that's what the text message says, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it says you went through both bags of cocaine.
According to her.
All right. Well, let's go on to the next one that you sent back to her.
No bag, no love, no niceness.
Okay. So basically, your mood was contingent upon the drugs that you had, correct?
That was inclusive with the no love, no niceness.
Let's go to 10/1/2022, 12:27 a.m. That was from who to who?
Her to me.
And what was this referencing?
Then expected, that's not in order. It says, and then expected me to come inside while you talk shit and share when you had a G yesterday.
What's a G?
A gram.
All right. So she's saying that she wasn't going to share because you had an entire gram to yourself.
Which is not true.
Okay. Look at the next text message from October 1st, 1:34, from you to Leilani.
Yeah. Can't come in and lay down at 2 a.m. Just go out and fuck around and don't ask me or tell me shit. Me referring to her leaving in the middle of the night and not saying anything.
Okay. You were upset, needless to say.
Well, yeah. At the time. Then I gave up.
So did it upset you whenever you noticed that she wasn't there in the middle of the night?
Occasionally. Most of the time I just accredited it to do her doing whatever she wanted to do.
Let's look at the next one on 10/1 at 1:34. It looks like from Leilani to you.
You can go out and do what you want tomorrow night. And you said you wish you knew. Well, now you know.
And that's basically saying you can go do what you want tomorrow night, right?
From her, yeah.
Right.
Like I would do that.
But whether you did it or not,
I guess that's her giving me permission to leave the next night.
did you leave the next night?
Nope.
Right. And what was your reply back?
You know damn well I can't do shit
And why is that?
because I'm the one that takes care of the children.
Okay. And look at the next one from October 1st at 1:40.
Like I said, it's not in order, but yeah.
Is that to Leilani from you?
Yep.
And what does it say?
Bet it'll be 3 a.m. before I see you, and no beer.
3 a.m. drinking beer?
Yeah.
Was that unusual or uncommon?
Depending on the day. If I didn't have to work the next day, probably not.
And this is later.
You want me to read this one?
October 1st at 2:19. Yes, sir.
But want me to be all over you when you run off at night like this and lie and don't respond.
And that has to do with withholding sexual attention, correct? I assume that's what it means.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Well, you tell me. I'm assuming that's what you mean. You want me to be all over you when you run off at night like this. What does that mean?
Anything intimate.
Right. So,
Anything intimate. Not just sexual. Anything.
so that was withholding affection, correct? That's what you're threatening there.
That's what I'm threatening. I
what it
wasn't
sounds
threatening.
Okay.
That was me saying she wants that, but how am I supposed to do that when she does this?
Let's look at the next one from October 2nd. You may remember this, you may not remember this. But
Oh, I don't know what this is.
All right. And you see the picture there?
Vaguely.
All right, we'll go to the next one then. See if that helps.
I guess it's a haircut.
Were y'all talking about getting Quinton's haircut?
It wasn't my choice. I think.
Well, that's what at least Leilani was. That's from her to you, correct?
Yeah, I guess she was thinking about getting Quinton's haircut.
And that was on October 2nd, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's look at October 2nd, that evening at 8:43.
Yes, sir. It's not my fault. I'm so sorry.
October 2nd at 8:43. That was from you to Leilani, correct?
Yep. Should have gotten Zane to chill or left me something before you tell me to fucking chill.
Left you what?
Some drugs.
Okay. And what was Zane doing that night?
Being high energy.
Wouldn't listen. Basically being a kid.
If that's how you want to put it, yes, sir.
All right. And October 2nd at 8:56, you sent another text message to Leilani?
I want to know why I don't understand the context. I want to know why I wish I did, because I didn't get any when I even begged. I don't know.
Maybe. You don't understand. You don't know what that's about.
No, I don't. Don't know the context.
All right. Look at the next one then and see if that helps put it in context.
It doesn't, but I want to tell me why it looks like you touched my bag from her to me.
Okay. And
Also incorrect.
so but put it in context, that may have been about drugs, correct?
Could have been, possibly.
All right. And let's go to October 3rd. This is the evening of October 3rd. I think this is the day before the wisdom tooth, if I'm not mistaken. This is 11:34 p.m. and it's from Leilani to you. And what does she say to you?
This is backwards, so it's kind of hard to get everything in context. And some of it's not even in order.
Well, that's fine. You can put it in order, but
I
what does it say?
don't have time. It says, so I've kind of been waiting for you at the same time, which is why I asked what you were doing. I do not know what that's referring to.
All right, well, that's fine. Let's go to the next one then. It's just an okay, right?
Yep. Just me saying
The defense
okay.
is tanking
And
right
what's
now.
the next one?
The defense is tanking.
Her saying, oh, I guess she was outside, sitting on the front porch.
All right.
Said,
Yeah.
thought you said you was going to hit that line and come smoke the city.
By hit that line, what does she mean by that?
What she had left on the dresser for me.
For you to do.
Yep.
And by do, I mean cocaine, correct?
Drugs, absolutely.
And this was about 11:30 at night, give or take.
11:33:47.
And let's look at the next one from her to you.
11:33:32.
Yeah.
Just put out my blunt and lit a cig.
And the next one, 11. This one's kind of out of order. But
I said, "Are you coming?" As in, "Are you coming to bed?" At 11:32:19.
And let's go on to October 4th, which we kind of have a little bit about this already. There was one from October 4th at 10:41.
10:41:37. She said, "I'm about to turn on 204."
And the next one,
I said at 10:44:24, "Thank you for the little bit left. So sweet, no lie."
and what little bit left were you referring to?
Whatever she left me on the dresser.
Crumbs.
Yep.
All right. So at least at that point in time, on the night of October 4th, you were at home with the children under the influence while she's out getting more drugs, correct?
Yes.
Okay. At any point, did you ever tell them this?
Yes.
When?
The interview?
Okay.
Initial interview?
All right. Well, let's go
It
ahead.
was a very long period of time, so I'm pretty sure I told him everything I knew.
All right. That being said,
Or could remember.
you were doing cocaine at least at 11 o'clock at night on October 4th. And drinking.
10:45.
10:45. 10:45.
And I probably did that and then fell asleep,
Because cocaine makes you sleepy.
as we've stated.
Okay? And you were drinking as well.
Probably the last year I had left.
But when you went to sleep, Quinton was fine, Zane was fine, and Scott was fine, correct?
Yes, sir. At around 10:45, 11 o'clock.
So, do you know what time Leilani got back that night?
Nope.
Do you remember telling the police that you were awake when she got in?
Probably initially.
Okay. But you changed your story, didn't you?
This was coming. This was coming.
Possibly. I don't know.
Okay. Well, if
I
I said,
stated based on memory and what I was recalling at the time.
well, if you say A is true and it turns out that B is true, they both can't be true, can they?
Depending.
Nope.
Well, either you saw her and you were awake, or you were asleep when she got in.
Yeah, very sure.
Now, you got up at 3 a.m. to feed Sky, like you always did, you said,
Probably initially, that's probably what I said.
and you told them Quinton was fine, Zane was fine, and Sky was fine, correct?
Initially, I believe so.
And you also said you, of your own accord, called the babysitter and said the kids were staying home.
I texted her at 5:20 and
Sorry.
said the kids will be with her.
Excuse me, texted and said the kids were going to stay home with Leilani, right?
Yes.
Did you discuss this with Leilani?
She wouldn't wake up. But that was something that I had done in the past, because if she wasn't going to get up and go to work and I was going to go to work, and why am I paying for the babysitter?
So, for you, you were a little bit angry she wouldn't wake up and go to work, right?
No, not really. I was just going to get my job done.
Mr. Young, can I have a few?
I may sound irritated at the moment, but no.
Now, let's talk about the Azalea Mobile Home Park.
Okay.
Buckhalter Road, you have 3 different trash cans out there, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you're the one that collects those trash cans and takes them to the Azalea Mobile Home Park to dump. But that was your testimony to Mr. Dean?
Yeah, for the most part I was, until
Okay.
Paul got there, and Paul was the one that had the keys to the truck, so Paul liked to take the trash out.
Well, I'm curious, do they have trash collection out there?
We didn't, at that residence, I don't know, that wasn't my house.
Well, it just seems a very odd thing that,
That's what I was told to do.
okay, well, who told you to do that?
I don't remember exactly, but that's just one of the things that happened. I don't understand.
So Paul, either you or Paul were the ones that took the trash off.
Yes. In the Silverado,
Right.
never in the Dodge Journey.
You're absolutely correct. In the Silverado. But you don't know whether or not there was garbage collection on Buckhalter Road or when they collected garbage?
I don't believe they paid for that service. I think it's something you have to pay for. I'm not 100% sure.
Do you know if the service is offered?
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, have you ever see garbage trucks up and down the road?
It
So
wasn't
it's
my
okay
house.
if you don't. Yeah, it's okay if you don't, but I mean,
No, it wasn't my house.
okay. You didn't pay attention to it, is what you're saying.
No, I just did what I was instructed.
Now, but you did agree to have the hotel room wired for 3 days, correct?
Yeah,
And
and my cell phone.
Don't know how this.
when did you leave Savannah after this?
I believe it was the day that I signed the paper for my cell phone to be tapped.
You left Savannah that day,
I believe so.
and that's when you moved away from Savannah?
I went and stayed in Atlanta for a weekend, and then I moved back with my parents.
So whatever day is on that particular item, that was the day you left Savannah.
I believe so. If not, it was the next day.
Do you have custody of Sky?
No, I wasn't even legitimized,
Do you have?
and I was threatened multiple times that my daughter would be taken away from me by Leilani.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this: do you have custody of Sky now?
No, I don't.
Who does?
That's parental alienation.
What's
What is
wrong?
irrelevant?
What's wrong? That's all the questions I got.
That's the cross is undone.
In just a moment, Mr. Dean may have some further questions for you.
Sorry.
I do have some regret, Your Honor, but I need a break.
Okay.
So I suspect that.
Okay.
It's a good time to take a break.
All right. So we're taking a break.
15-minute break,
We're taking a
ladies
break.
and
So let me
gentlemen.
just fast forward it.
10:02. Let's be back about
Let me just
10:20.
fast forward it to where they're back.
We're in recess.
All right. So before we move on, there was nothing from that cross exam that really stuck out. The defense, in my opinion, are really they're desperate. So they're just trying to look into his memory, which we already know, and it's established that it's bad. They are looking to his drug use when this guy has been honest, and they're also trying to. I don't know what they're trying to say with the communications and who got the drugs, and I don't know what they're doing with this. But they better set something concrete to explain away the change of locations and the misty story concoction that Leilani supposedly did, because Marian Lemons is a very credible witness that pretty much got her dead on rights on that one. So I want to see where this redirect goes. So let's just press play and continue. Oh yeah, also thank you everyone that are tuning in right now. Let me know how you're feeling in the chat, and also don't forget to hit the like button as well. Random girl, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me just read this chat. How it says, you use the applicator to put cocaine up your nose, Amber Heard. The famous tampon applicator. Supposedly he doesn't use tampon applicator, so there is that. So yeah. That was quite a good one, random girl. No one else uses tampon applicator apart from Whitney, and let me move on. All right. Judge Tammy Stokes. I think we're back in session now. 1 second.
proceed?
We are, Judge.
Okay, please
right.
bring in the jury.
All right, so now it's a redirect. So we are coming back in.
Understand?
Yep, it's a redirect exam. The jury are back in the place. So let's resume with what's going. Let's see if
All right,
what
Mr.
comes out of this
Hamilton.
one.
You understand that you remain under oath?
Yes, sir.
Let's bring out the jurors.
I know how you're feeling. Trust me, I know how you're feeling. I missed it. I should have thought about it, but I'm glad someone did think about it. It was too good to pass up. I don't blame you. I'm surprised I missed it, to be honest. I'm really surprised. That should have been a joke that I should be making. But yeah, no tampon applicators were used in the making of this cross exam. Oh Lord.
Instructions? All right, very well, thank you.
Okay, so
Mr. Dean?
Danny, I think you were asked some questions on cross-examination about where y'all kept.
I literally made no notes in that cross exam.
Yes,
Literally
sir.
no notes.
Can you tell
Outside
me
of-
again where you kept it?
There was a dresser across from the bed that was like 4 feet tall, 5 feet tall.
Was there also a dresser next to the bed?
Yes, sir.
Which one was taller?
The one across from the bed.
And are you saying that's the one that y'all kept the cocaine in?
Yes, sir.
Why that dresser and not the other one?
Because it was taller and less. It was. They couldn't reach it. The kids couldn't reach it.
I'd like to show you a picture and ask if you can just explain to us which piece of furniture you're talking about, okay?
Yes, sir.
So far, the state's case is pretty strong. I'm not gonna lie, it's very, very strong. They done the investigation properly. They were able to
This is
inspect
image 44
the
from
system, unlike in some
State's
trials.
Exhibit 10. Are we seeing in this picture the piece of furniture that you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Where in this piece of furniture or on this piece of furniture would you guys keep cocaine?
There's a shelf in there that's at the top, near the top, and then on top of it
And how do you open that piece of furniture?
with that door handle right there.
So it's the brown furniture.
Well, with that knob.
So you have to pull that knob to open it?
Yes, sir. And there's a shelf near that hinge, sort of at the bottom of it.
Like right here,
Like towards the bottom of it, yeah.
towards the bottom of the top hinge?
Yeah, there should be a shelf in there.
Okay. Did you ever see Quinton open that piece of furniture?
No, never.
If he had, was he able to open it to your knowledge?
No, not to my knowledge. I believe it was
It's a 2-year-old.
taller than he could reach.
And had he been able to open the door, would he have been able to reach to the top shelf?
No.
And are you saying that that's specifically why you kept it up there to keep it away from the kids?
Yes, sir.
Was Quinton able to get out of his pack and play?
No, sir.
How much were y'all paying for cocaine at this time?
Quite a little bit, actually.
What do you mean by that?
20 to 40 a bag.
And how much is a bag? Like how much are we talking about in a bag?
.3, .5, something like that.
0.3 or 0.5?
Of a gram.
Okay, so less than a gram.
Yes.
And how much money was that, did you say?
$40 would get you probably like a .5, maybe.
So did you consider cocaine to be expensive?
Yeah.
Were you all in the habit of just leaving it laying around?
No.
Once you bought cocaine, would you be careful to take care of it and safeguard it?
Yeah. As much as possible.
Now, I want to ask you some questions about Defense Exhibit 1 that was shown to you, but I don't think was introduced into evidence. Is that right, Madam Clerk? Was Defense Exhibit 1 introduced into evidence formally?
Yes.
It was?
That's one? Or
That
defense
Exhibit
one? Oh,
1.
no, it was not.
I've marked it, the copy that I was given, it states Exhibit 87. Danny, you've identified these as text messages that you sent to the defendant over a period of time.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I would introduce this as states 87.
Yes.
No objection. I was going to wait for the detective to cross-mark it as defense 1, if that's okay. It states 87. I'm good with that, Judge.
Okay, that's fine.
Great.
I think those are the text messages that Leilani sent to
Now,
him
given that
from his phone, I think.
to the witness, and I'm going to grab a copy of the clerk's table so that I can follow along myself, okay? Danny, what's the date and time of the message that you're looking at on the page that I've turned to?
October 1st, 2022, 1:34:29 a.m.
All right. And what did you say in this message?
I said, can't come in and lay down at 2 a.m. Just go out and fuck around and don't tell me or don't ask me or tell me shit.
What did you mean by don't ask me or tell me shit?
Just, I was unaware of her whereabouts or that she left or what she was doing.
What did you mean by fuck around? Just can't come in.
Do whatever she wanted to do.
Did you know what she was doing?
No, I didn't ever ask.
Because he
Yes,
was
at
out of
1:34
love
a.m.
Yes,
with
sir.
her.
Can you flip to the page in front of that? What's the time of this message?
Is this the one from her? Is that what you were saying? Or is it, wait, at 1:34 or 12:27?
Let me just go up there. How about that?
Yeah, sorry. This is the one we were at. So, are you talking about this one? Yeah, that one. Okay.
Now, I've flipped forward a couple pages. What is the date and time of this message?
10/1/2022, 1:40:37 a.m.
That's like 5 minutes after the last one that we read.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, go back to it, please. All right. And what did you say here?
That it'll be 3 a.m. before I see you, and no beer.
Do you remember where, if anywhere, she had told you that she was going at this time?
No.
Did you know what she was doing?
No.
Did you have any suspicion as to what she was doing?
Yeah.
And what was that?
204. For however long she felt like staying there for.
All right. Can you turn to the next page? Yeah, the one in front of it. Okay, and this is what date and time?
10/1/2022 to 19:08 a.m.
All right, so same morning, but like
40 minutes.
40 minutes later, or something like that.
About 40 or 50, yeah.
40 or 50
Well, it's
minutes.
135, so 220, so 25, 20, 45 minutes.
Okay. Was she still gone at the time of this message?
Yes, sir.
And what did you say to her?
But want me to be all over you when you run off at night like this and lie and don't respond?
And you thought she was at 204,
Yes.
right? And that's where y'all would get drugs from.
Yes, sir.
All right, I can take that back. How far was let me ask you this. When we say 204 and an arc right lane, are we talking about the same place?
Yes, sir.
The drug dealer's residence?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How long, if all you wanted to do was drive from 535 Buckhalter, or all someone wanted to do, you, the defendant, whoever.
Uh-huh.
If all you wanted to do was drive from 535 Buckhalter to 204, aka Arkwright Lane, and buy drugs and then come home, how long would that take?
A maximum of like 40 minutes.
Okay. Were there times, perhaps including the time period encompassed in these messages that we've just gone through, where the defendant would go to 204 / aka Arkwright Lane for longer than it would take to just buy drugs?
Yes, sir.
And is that kind of what you were complaining about in those messages?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Hilliard asked you about those messages or some messages like them. Were you upset that she wasn't home with the drugs yet? Do you remember him asking you that?
Yes.
And you responded, no, I was just annoyed that she wasn't home yet, that she was still out.
Yes, sir.
Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
One moment, please, Your Honor. All right, I'd like to approach with what I've marked as State's Exhibit 86, Your Honor.
Has 86 been entered into evidence? Has it been admitted into evidence?
No, Your Honor, that has not been offered yet.
All right, thank you.
So while they're doing that, again, they were trying to say that the drug use that he was exposing the children to, that they were trying to say that on cross
the
exam.
witness what I've marked as State's Exhibit 86. Sir, if you could look through that, take as long as you need, and then let me know when you're ready to talk about that document, okay?
That they were exposing the children to that he was specifically exposing the child, and the child could have ingested these drugs before and then gone loopy and gone into the. That's the theory I think they're going with, that they went with in the cross exam, that he's trying to clean up now and trying to show that either way he was more careful about his drug use, because remember the defense was specifically focused on the drug use and the fact that he was doing it around the children. So that's what I think. That's what I think. This redirect is for, to kind of just show that he was not interested with her, and that basically made her unstable. Basically, that made her very angry and very resentful towards the children because of the father. Just to go,
Do you recognize
because that Google search is very pertinent
Danny?
Yeah.
to all of
Tell us
this.
what it is.
Text messages between me and Leilani.
And what is the start date of those messages?
10:04 p.m. on the 4th of October, 2022.
Okay, what's the end date and time?
11. My last text message was 11:01 p.m. Her last text message was 11:10 p.m. on the 4th of October, 2022.
Fair to say that these are your text messages from that night?
Yes, sir.
Does this fairly and accurately depict your text message communications that night?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I would offer this as State's 87.
No objection, Judge.
And may I call it? 86. Pardon.
86.
Thank you.
Also, if you're live with us,
I'd like to start on
let's just speak at the
towards
wrong
bottom
time.
of page 4. And let me ask you this. Can you see the screen from where you're at? You turn to the side, can you see it?
Yes, sir.
And can you read off of that screen all right? I don't know if it's one of those screens where if you're at an angle.
No, I can see it.
Okay. So from here on out, can we just work off the screen together, please?
Yeah.
I think that'd be easier.
Absolutely.
This green message here, can you tell us the time of this?
6:20 06 p.m. 10/4/2022.
Okay, so this is the evening of October 4th.
Yes, sir.
But this would be some hours before she left on this 204 trip, correct?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And the next message here, what does this one say?
I'm gonna run to 204, I guess, at 10:32:20 on the 4th of October, 2022.
Okay. So, is it fair to say then that this message right here is basically like your first nighttime text message
Yes, sir.
between you and her? I know it's not your text message.
Yes, sir.
Scrolling down, what time did you respond to that?
10:32:41, so 20 seconds later.
Okay. And what did you say?
Oh, ... okay. Space,
Now- ... Can I take from those two messages, well, the fact that she texts you, gonna run to 204, I guess. Can I take away from that she was already gone from the house at the time she sent that message to you?
Yeah, it was either that or she was sitting on the front porch.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure, to be honest.
And your response, oh, okay. Why did you respond that way?
Because I was already laying down and ready to go to bed for the next morning to go to work at 6.
Were you surprised that she was
Yes.
all of a sudden going to 204 at this time of night?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Considering that we had work and that she had just gotten her tooth pulled earlier that day.
And
I just said, be safe, I guess.
Okay.
And that was how long after? Oh, okay.
2 minutes and 8 seconds on the 4th of October, 2022.
Now, What time was the next message? And you can drop the seconds.
The next minute after, and she said, I will be, so she was responding, I'll be safe and I'll be quick, I promise.
And what did you say to that?
I hope so.
And that was like the same minute.
21 seconds left. Yes, sir.
And what did you say next?
3 minutes later, Paul showed up and is going to bed.
And can I presume that the defendant was still gone at this point?
Yes, sir.
What did she say to that?
Wow. Okay.
And then what did you say?
He said something about telling you he was on the way and then you leaving and him getting threatened to get ran over.
Can you just kind of explain to us what, it sounds like that's a reference to some.
Yeah, I think he had like an incident on the road on the way back to the house or something.
And then what's her next message to you?
At 10:41, she said, I'm about to turn onto 204. And I said, okay, at the same minute.
And what's the next message?
She said, no, he said in a little bit.
What is that a reference to?
I believe it's in reference to Paul. I'm honestly not 100% sure.
And then your next message, maybe that'll clarify.
That's what I said. Oh yeah, I remember it. Sorry.
Can you first read the message and tell us what this particular part of the exchange means?
That's what I said, you said, he said. But he said something about something about no, it was I'm on the way or something.
Was there, let me just ask you this, does this exchange refer to some sort of like miscommunication between the defendant and Paul about when exactly Paul was going to get out?
Yeah, that's what I'm gathering from it. Yes, sir.
And then...
Oh, 204 is the highway.
At the top of page 7 of this document, what did you say?
Thank you for the little bit left. So sweet, no lie.
And what were you referring to here?
She left a little bit of coke on the top of the dresser for me.
Was it in a bag or not in a bag or what?
I think it was a little line left out.
How much was it?
0.05 gram.
Was it?
I gotta pause it here a little bit because I just want to correct something that I said earlier. 204, I know I said on the previous streams that it was probably a convenience store, but I just looked on the map again, and 204 is supposedly, let me just quickly, and 204 in this case is supposedly where they were getting the drugs from Arkwright Lane. So that's basically it. Let me just press play again. I'm not gonna pause anymore. But I just thought I'd correct that record.
Was it the last of what y'all had in the house at that point?
Yeah.
Okay. And did you use it?
Yes.
I think. Well, let me ask you this. Earlier, I think Mr. Hilliard may have asked you, were you drugging and drinking at that time? And I think you said no. Was that an intentional misrepresentation?
No, it was not.
Do you remember coming up to Savannah maybe a month or so ago and sitting down to talk to me in preparation for this trial?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember our going through all these messages together?
Yeah, I do now.
And do you remember my specifically asking you what that text message meant?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember freely admitting to me at that time?
Yes,
it was
I
a
do.
reference to a little bit of cocaine?
Yes, I do.
What's your next message here?
I just noticed it. Paul asked if soda was free to drink because of kids only on Hawaiian Punch. Sounds like I'm sleepily texting.
Why do you say that?
Because I barely understand what I'm saying.
Now, was this the point in the night where Paul was getting something to eat or drink in the kitchen?
Yes, sir.
And how did she respond to that?
Yeah, just tell him not to be excessive with it.
And what did you say?
Gotcha.
Now, this next message, what time are we at here?
10:45.
And read to us what you say to her.
I love you. Please come back so we can crash together.
This was the same
Number of
day.
R's on the end of together there.
4.
What are you wanting to do at this point?
Go to sleep.
Do you know where you were in the house when you sent this message?
Laying in the bed.
What if anything was holding you back from going to sleep at this point?
Her being back.
So
Now, scrolling down to the top of page 8,
6 minutes later.
what did you say to her?
Or not.
Had she responded to your last message about come
No.
back so we can crash together?
No.
So you say or not, and what does she say?
I love you.
And what did she say next?
And I'm about to be walking to the car.
And what time was that message sent?
10:51.
And your response?
1 minute later, I said, oh, okay.
What were you doing at this point in time?
Laying down in the bed and trying to wait on her.
As far as you were concerned, was the day pretty much over at this point?
Yes, sir.
And what was your next message in
10:56. I said, I don't want to be tired or you be tired either. They.
And that was how long after the last message where you said, I guess I'm going to try to stay up for a few minutes?
4 minutes.
You're still wanting to go to bed at this point?
Absolutely.
Just wanting her to come home so you can do that?
Yes, sir.
How did she respond to that?
I know, maybe.
And what did you say?
I know you don't feel great. I don't know how you're still up. And I wanted to watch a movie. Sad moment.
And what time did you send that message?
1 minute later, exactly.
How are you feeling at this point?
Sad and tired.
Did she respond to that message?
No.
What's the next message?
4 minutes later, I said, moi.
What does that mean? I don't mean to embarrass you, I just don't know.
A
who
kiss.
knows. All right, it's a text message representation of a kissing noise.
Yeah.
Okay. And when did you send that message?
4 minutes later.
What time of night?
11:01.
All right, 11:01 p.m. on the 4th.
Yes, sir.
Did she respond to that message immediately?
No, it was 9 minutes later.
And what did she say?
The same thing.
Is that the last text message you sent to anybody that night?
Yeah, I believe so.
All right. And at the time that you sent this message at 11:01 and didn't get a response, what were you doing?
I believe I went to sleep.
Okay. So, if there has been maybe some lack of clarity at times as to whether you were
Awake or asleep.
or going to sleep when she gets home from 2:04, could that be because you're sort of in the process of going to bed at that point?
Yes, sir. Based on my text messages and spelling, I can see that as well. And my lack of remembering correctly.
I think we know about your memory problems now, so much. So this is what I was talking. So
You mentioned that this was not a one-time thing where she would kind of go out and be gone, and you don't know exactly what she's doing.
Yes, sir.
Is this sort of normal type of text messages for you to send to her during that time frame?
Yes, sir.
Does anything in these text messages suggest that anything abnormal had happened in the house at this point?
No.
Now, going back to the morning of October 4th, before these messages, let's go back to the dentist, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Well, actually, let's go to work before the dentist, all right?
Yes, sir.
The two of you, did you drive to work together in the journey?
Yes, sir.
And I think you've talked about how you clocked out early to go to the dentist.
Yeah, to take her.
Did the two of you drive together in the journey to the dentist?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember who was driving?
Me.
And then, while she was at the dentist, you testified that you went to the liquor store.
Yes, sir.
And did you then come back to the dentist?
Yes, sir.
All right. When you went to the liquor store from the dentist, did you walk or did you drive in the journey?
I drove in the journey.
And when you came back to the dentist, did you therefore drive back in the journey?
Yes, sir.
And then I think you said from the dentist's office you guys went to Cheddar's.
Yeah. Yes, sir. I believe it was in the same area.
Did you drive to Cheddar's in the journey?
Yes, sir.
And then you testified that from Cheddar's you went home, right?
From my memory, yeah.
Okay. In any case, there was more driving in the journey that day.
Yes, sir.
And then at some point you're home.
Yes.
Okay. At any point that day driving that car around, did you smell anything in the car?
No.
Smell any old food?
No.
Smell anything that caused you to go look around the car and see what that smell is?
No, sir.
So they went to a dentist on the 3rd. That's when the same day that the baby Quinton was pronounced to be missing by Leilani. So they went to the dentist on that day. That's what. So you gotta think of these text messages now on the 4th. This back and forth on the 4th. He doesn't know yet. So I think this is when, after he, I think on the 4th that night, that's when he was told, and then he had to zoom off work, according to the metadata. So a whole day went by when she reported this child missing to the FBI, because that's what they said on that she was missing on the 3rd. A whole day went by, and she didn't do it. She didn't report this to anyone else, and then she told him on the 4th.
33.
And then on the 5th they came round. I hope.
This has been identified by other witnesses as apparent vomit on Quinton's pillowcase, as photographed by the police on October 5th. Have you now gotten a look at that?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember ever seeing that?
No, sir.
If the call to the police was morning of Wednesday, October 5th, right?
Yes, sir.
If that had been there Monday night, an all-day Tuesday, do you think you would have seen it at some point or been aware of it?
Yes, sir.
So do you think we can conclude from that then that it
Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation. Can't conclude anything. Testify what he saw or heard.
Mr. Dean?
First, may I ask that we not have speaking objections? And second, I will withdraw the question.
Yes.
I need to get this timeline. According to my notes.
Do you have any recollection of an incident involving an accidental explosion of a package of rice cereal in the back of the Dodge Journey?
No.
And that was a car you drove pretty much every day?
Yes, sir.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, Judge.
Recross.
Mr. Youngkin,
Let's go.
It's your testimony that you slept in that room the entire evening of October 4th until the early morning hours of October 5th, correct?
Yes, sir.
The same room that Quinton, Zane, and Sky were in, correct?
It's 2 rooms together, but
Are there any walls that divide it?
no.
It's wide open, correct?
Yes.
You testified that you saw the kids okay, and you told them you saw the kids okay when you left at 5:30 that morning, correct?
I was mistaken.
Well, you're mistaken now, but you weren't then. The first time you spoke was on October 5th, wasn't it, Mr. Youngkin?
Objection, Your Honor.
I was mistaken then.
Mr. Youngkin, just a moment. Your objection?
2 objections. 1, asked and answered previously. 2, beyond the scope of recross examination.
I'm going to allow Mr. Hilliard to ask those questions.
I only won't, Judge. It's not that big of a deal. Mr. Youngkin, you testified on redirect a minute ago that you were a responsible cocaine addict and you only put the cocaine on top of the test tube.
I didn't
correct?
say I was responsible.
Okay. Well, you put it in a place that only the kids couldn't get it. Well, let me ask you this. You also testified a few minutes later, didn't you, that you couldn't read your own text messages because you weren't making sense. You were either tired or intoxicated, correct? Yes or no?
I was tired.
Well, that's your explanation, but you're also intoxicated. You admitted to doing cocaine and alcohol that evening, correct?
That's a matter of opinion.
Now,
No.
you were asked whether or not you saw this pillow, right? Mr. Dean just asked you about that.
He asked me if I had seen it prior to the 5th. Yes.
Right. Let me ask you this. At any point in time on October 5th, did you ever speak to anyone about an overwhelming smell of vomit emanating from the crib?
No.
Did you smell vomit?
No.
Were you sleeping in that room all night?
Yes.
Okay, you woke up, correct? Got ready for work and left that morning, correct?
Yes.
They're
Did
cleaning
you
up the
ever,
set.
ever mention that you smelled vomit?
No, I was asleep.
Call the question again.
They are trying to clean up the Percocet because they know that the side effect of Percocet is vomit. They're trying to clean that up. To say that Leilani was not doing
Mr.
Percocet.
Youngkin, you are excused, sir.
That it was just him. Damn.
Is there any reason to retain this witness? Let me ask that.
Damn.
Under subpoena.
May I have 1 moment on that question, Your Honor? No, Your Honor. No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Youngkin, you're excused, sir. You're welcome.
Okay, so effectively, what the defense? I don't think it makes a difference.
Mr. Dean, you may call your next witness.
David Mullins.
I don't think it makes a difference in regards to who done. I think it makes a whole lot of difference for the defense that Leilani is not the one that to be doing Percocet. Because if that's the case, then it would corroborate, or it would send the idea that that she had
David
maybe
Mullins.
had a
He's on his way. All right.
that he had that she had had a maybe psychotic break in which she may have done this heinous act. That's what they're trying to clean up. That she wasn't that she wasn't under the influence that day. So I think on that recross, it doesn't look good for. It didn't look good for him, but I don't think it's enough to move the needle, in my opinion.
The evidentiary check is the court and the jury and the trial decision should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so
I don't think it moved the needle at all, if I'm being honest with you.
All right. Good morning.
morning, sir. Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Hi, my name is David Mullen.
Normal spelling of David.
Yep, D-A-V-I-D, last name M-U-L-L-E-N.
And what is your city and state of residence, sir?
Currently Springfield, Georgia.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a warehouse manager.
And where do you work?
Currently work for a company called Eunice.
How long have you been in warehouse or freight operations?
A little over 12 years.
In October of 2022, where were you working and what were you doing?
I was working for a company called Eclipse Advantage. We were a warehouse labor provider.
And where specifically did you work?
In the Port Wentworth location, I was the facility manager for the company.
And what was this location specifically?
Inside of NFI's warehouse. I'm trying to remember the street address.
Does Littlehurst
Yep.
sound right?
101 Littlehurst.
101 Littlehurst in Port Wentworth?
Yep.
And you said this is an NFI warehouse?
Correct.
What is NFI?
NFI is a third-party contracted logistics provider. In that particular building, they were contracted by Target to process freight for them, and we were subcontracted by NFI to provide labor.
Okay. So NFI has a contract with Target, it's their building.
Yes.
And then Eclipse, the company that you work for, did what now?
We provided labor, the actual manpower of actually loading the boxes into the trailers for NFI.
What exactly would go on there?
Basically, it was a 24-hour day operation, scheduled for 7 days a week. Shifts were often canceled, however, by NFI due to lack of work. So we would have people that would unload containers, get the freight onto the floor, onto carts. The carts would be pushed over to the outbound side, where my team would take over and load the boxes into the trailers off the carts.
And where do the trailers go from there?
They go to Target's distribution centers.
Okay, so what's happening here is taking stuff out of shipping containers and putting it in trucks to be driven where it needs to
Correct.
go. Okay. In your capacity as what was your position again, you said at that time?
I was the warehouse facility manager.
Okay. And in that capacity, did you meet the defendant, Leilani Simon?
Yes, I did.
And did you meet Daniel Youngkin?
Yes, I did.
And did you meet Paul Simon?
Yes, I did.
How did you meet all these people?
They were all employed by Eclipse, so they all reported up through other people to me.
And what did they do for Eclipse during the time period we're talking about, October 2022?
They were responsible for loading trailers. So when the cart would get pulled over to the door, it was their responsibility to take the boxes off of that cart and stack it as high and tight as possible inside of the trailer.
Is there security at that building, or was there security at that building at the time?
Yes.
That affected employees going in and out
Yes.
to and from work? Can you tell us about that, please?
So there were metal detectors. There was a staff security operation right at the front entrance to the building. So all employees had to go through the metal detectors. For any reason the metal detector went off, security would then wand them. Checking for metal objects, making sure that nothing was being brought into the operation. They're also responsible for keeping an eye on associates leaving to make sure that no product was leaving.
All right, and what did that involve?
Basically a cursory glance 9 times out of 10. If someone was leaving with the bag, they would ask them to open the bag, they'd peek inside the bag.
Okay, so employees even leaving work have to go through security?
Yes.
Okay. How did you keep track there of what hours people were working?
So we used a timekeeping system where every employee had their fingerprint that was biometrically registered. So when they would come in for the day, they would put their finger up against the fingerprint reader. It would record their time in, and same thing for their time out.
Did you have the ability to, if somebody had left and forgotten to clock out, did you have the ability to manually
Yes.
clock them out? And how would you do that?
That would be off my computer terminal, either myself or the human resources manager, and the supervisors on the floor also had access to that.
Did, at some point during the investigation of this case, did the FBI make contact with you
Yes, they did.
And was there a Chatham County Police detective there as well?
Yes.
Okay. And what were they asking you for?
They asked me for if I any time card records of the defendant or Danny Youngkin or Paul Simon.
And were you able to pull responsive documentation?
Yes.
And did you give time cards for the three of them
Yes.
to the FBI? Do you see in front of you 3 documents marked as State's Exhibits 36, 37, and 38?
Yes, I do.
Do you know what those documents are?
Yep, those are printouts of the time cards.
Are those copies of what you gave to the FBI during the investigation?
Yes, they are.
And did those time cards reflect when you hit export or print and produce them?
Yes, they do. They are time-stamped at the top, time and date.
And what was the date that you produced those to the FBI?
That was October 6th.
Okay. Are these timesheets we're looking at, are these maintained in the ordinary course of business at Eclipse?
Yes.
And do they reflect things as they happened at the time that they happened? Like they say somebody clocked in at this time, that's
Yes.
accurate?
Yes.
And they're kept on file?
Yep.
Do you consider them business records of Eclipse Advantage?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would offer these in as 36, 37, and 38.
No objection, Your Honor.
36, 37, and 38 are admitted without objection.
All right. I would like to, now, let me pull these up, and I just want to ask you a couple questions about them.
Sure.
All right, this is State's Exhibit 36. Whose time card is this?
That is Leilani Simon's.
And can we see here the date and time that you produced this document?
Yep, October 6th, 2022 at 3:54 p.m.
Okay, so that date and time reflects when you printed it out or something?
Correct.
If it was produced on Thursday, October 6, 2022, can I take it then that on the last page at the bottom, that is the day represented by this Thursday here?
Yes.
Okay. And that would make this Wednesday above it
Yes.
October 5th?
Yep.
Okay, and then the Tuesday above that, October 4th?
Correct.
Okay. Now, this column over here, what does this reflect?
That was the scheduled time that was input by one of the regional managers.
Okay, so we're talking about the second, just so the record's clear, I should be a little better about this. We're talking about the second column from the left?
Yes.
Okay. And let me actually back out and just have you talk about these columns generally. Sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit.
Yep, certainly.
Leftmost column says date.
Yep.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Yes.
Next column says schedule, and you just talked about that, right?
Correct.
What does the next column mean?
That is a system notated absence.
And the next column?
That is their pay code. So if an employee who typically would work on first shift works on second shift, you would see a pay code update there.
And the next column?
That is the amount of time.
And then I think the next few columns are the ones that we're most concerned with. I see in, out, transfer, in, out, transfer. Can you tell us what those things refer to?
Yep, so that is the actual punches. So for example, looking at what is on the screen, that very first in punch you see, where it says 6:09, that was the clocked in time for that particular day.
Okay, and then the next column would be the clock out time or
Correct.
punch out time? Okay. Let's go back down now with that background to Tuesday, October 5th. And again, we're in the defendant's timesheet right now, correct?
Yes.
What does this reflect in terms of what she was scheduled to work that day?
She was scheduled to work from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m.
And what does it reflect in terms of when she actually clocked in?
She clocked in at 6:08, which then flagged for a supervisor to approve. That was approved. That's what that check mark is. The approval basically just means it was acknowledged that the employee was not on time or did not punch within the 5-minute parameters before or after the scheduled punch.
And then what does the next column over reflect?
That would be the out punch for the day, which was 7:57 in the morning.
So that's pretty early, right?
Yes.
Do you remember why?
She had a toothache. So her and Danny had, one of the two of them had texted my work phone and said that she had a toothache. It was reported to the supervisor on the floor. The supervisor agreed to let them leave for her to go and get the tooth looked at.
Now, what does her time card reflect in terms of Wednesday, October 5th?
She did not come into work.
What is that? Yeah, I see the word excuse there. What does that mean?
That is acknowledging that the employee was not in. We had to either mark it as no call, no show, or excused. No call, no show could lead to termination very quickly. So usually absences were marked as excused.
Now, Daniel Youngkin's timesheet, is it substantially the same setup?
Yes.
All right. And that Tuesday and the third line from the bottom, would that be October 4th?
Yes.
And what does that show in terms of when he was scheduled to work?
He was scheduled to work from 6 o'clock in the morning to 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
And is that the same shift as the defendant?
Yes.
All right. And what does it show in terms of when he clocked in?
He clocked in at 6:06 in the morning. Again, over the 5-minute threshold, so it had to be acknowledged.
And is that about the same time that the defendant clocked in that day?
Yes.
And when does it show in terms of when he clocked out?
He clocked out at 7:56 in the morning.
And is that about the same time that the defendant clocked out that day?
Yes.
Is this early clock out also attributable to the dentist trip?
Yes.
Okay. Now, moving on to Wednesday, October 5th, what does this show in terms of when he was scheduled to work?
He was scheduled to work from 6 o'clock in the morning to 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
And did he complete that shift?
No, he did not.
When does it show that he clocked in?
He clocked in at 6:11 in the morning.
And then what time was the clock out?
The clock out was at 9:15 in the morning.
What does this little check mark mean up here?
That means that was manually entered because he did not hit the time clock.
Okay. Did you do that?
It was either myself or it was Chris, the human resources manager. I believe it was myself though, because I encountered him.
Do you know why he didn't manually clock out when he left that day?
He was in an extreme rush when he was leaving. I actually encountered him as he was leaving the building.
Can you tell us about that encounter?
Sure. As I was walking into the building, security popped their head out the door and said, "Hey, someone just ran out the door." I looked over and saw Danny getting into his car. I walked over to Danny and said, "Why did you run out of the building? You have to let security check you out."
Were you able to observe his demeanor and appearance at this time?
Yes, he appeared frantic. Is probably the best word I can use to describe. He was crying, very upset. You could hear it in his voice. Something was not right.
Did you see tears coming out of
Yes,
his
I did.
face? Out of his eyes? And
Yes.
were they coming down his face as well?
Yes,
Did it appear genuine to you?
very
Objection,
much.
Your Honor. Calls for speculation.
Did either Danny or the defendant ever come back to work in Eclipse after
No,
Danny's departure on October 5th?
no.
Did he leave anything at work that day when he ran out and you saw him frantic in the parking lot?
Yes, he did. He had left a jacket with a pack of cigarettes in it down on the dock.
And did you return that to him?
Yes, I did. One of the leads had turned it into the office. We had it in the office for probably a couple of weeks. Danny then reached out, asked via text message if we knew where his jacket was. I got his address in North Carolina and mailed it to him.
About how long was it, as best you remember, between when you saw him run out of the warehouse or saw him in the parking lot after having run past security and having not remembered to clock out, that he asked you for his jacket back?
It had to be at least 2 to 3 weeks.
Did it seem to you that he had forgotten about it?
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation.
Withdraw. Let me ask you about Paul Simon's timesheet. States Exhibit 38, okay?
Yep.
Now, I just want to go to Tuesday, October 4th. First of all, is it the case that he did not work Wednesday, October 5th, 2022, or
Correct.
Thursday, October 6th, 2022?
Correct.
All right, so the last day he worked there, at least at the time that this was produced, would have been Tuesday, October 4th.
Yes.
Now, there is a lot going on here in these columns.
Yep.
For Tuesday, October 4th. Can you, first of all, tell us, was he scheduled to work this day?
In the system, no, but he was on the schedule for the day.
Okay, and can you tell us what these entries indicate in terms of what happened with his clock ins and clock outs that day?
Yep. So he came in early that day. He came in at 11:58.
And would that be AM?
Correct.
Sorry. Okay, so just before noon.
Correct.
All right, and what's the next thing that happened?
The next thing you see is 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That was the end of first shift, so we had to allocate his hours from shift to shift. So in that next column where you see transfer, you see WG1 / unload. WG1 stood for work group 1, so first shift.
And what's the next entry?
That is a clock back in at 2:01. As he never did leave, that's the only way we could update his hours to reflect into that second shift.
And the next entry?
That would be his out punch for lunch break at 5:33.
PM?
Correct.
Okay.
And that next column is allocating from 2:01 to 5:33 into second shift, i.e. WG2.
All right. And then what happened next in terms of his activity there on October 4th?
Yep, so then he punched back in at 6:05 p.m. from lunch. And then he punched out for the day at 9:56 p.m.
And was that it for Paul on October 4th?
On that day, yes.
Okay. Is it fair to say then that he clocked in for work around noon, took a half-hour break around 5:30, came back to work, and then left work around 10 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay. One moment, please, Your Honor. No further questions.
Okay. Well, that was interesting.
Just a few. Good morning, Mr. Mullins. My name is Mark Hilliard. How are you, sir?
Good.
Okay. Okay, straight to it then.
So you were the direct supervisor for Paul Simon, Leilani Simon, and Danny Youngkin back in October of 2022, correct?
I was the dotted line supervisor.
Were you the one that they mostly interacted with regards to clocking in, checking out, getting excused, things like that?
Myself or the supervisors.
Well, I guess, let me just jump to this. Did you know Miss Simon back then?
Yes.
Interact with her?
Yes.
Did you know Mr. Paul Simon at that point?
Yes, I did.
By looking at them?
Yep.
Did you know Mr. Danny Youngkin by interacting with them?
Yes.
So if you passed them on the street, you'd know who they were, correct?
Yes.
I didn't see this on the sheets, but the regular shift was from 6 to 2
Yes.
for Mr. Youngkin and Miss Simon, correct?
Yes.
And the regular shift for Paul Simon, I think, was like 2 to 10.
Yes.
Okay. Those are the general shifts they worked. What was your shift usually?
My shift was typically more of a mid shift. So I would get in typically between 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. and I'd work over into that second shift so I could interact with both shifts.
So you could kind of bridge the gap. You would,
Yes.
you know, Leilani and Danny would get there a little bit before you, and they would leave a little bit before you left. And generally speaking, Paul would get there a little bit before you left every day.
Yes.
And how often would you say you interacted with them?
Typically at least once every 2 days. Again, my responsibility is more running the business. They would have a lot of interaction with the daily floor leadership.
Okay. And you said if they were more than 5 minutes late, they had to get a supervisor to check their timesheet and to approve it, correct?
Yes.
So it sounds like there was, any time that you were late, and I guess it didn't matter if you were clocking in, going to lunch, or whatever, the supervisor would have to approve that, and that's what those little check marks
Yes.
were. Did y'all have any policy about smoke breaks or anything like that?
No firm policy. If the team was standing around waiting for work, they could go have a cigarette. To do that, they had to leave the floor, go through a security checkpoint, but still stay within the premises of the building.
Okay, so was it like a designated area that they would
Yes.
have to go to? And is that where all the employees and supervisors had to go to smoke?
Yes.
All right. And did you ever see Miss Simon out there smoking?
Yes.
Mr. Simon?
Yes.
Mr. Youngkin?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm not prying, I'm an ex-smoker, but did you smoke with him as well?
Yes.
Okay. And how often would you see them out there? And I'm not, it's no, would you see them once a week, once a day? I mean,
That's usually where I interact with them the most, honestly. So once every 2 days.
so
On
that's,
average.
that's where you'd see them all was out there smoking, correct? Okay. And you said you returned Mr. Youngkin's jacket to him,
Yes.
and in the jacket was a pack of cigarettes?
Yes.
And what type of cigarettes did Mr. Youngkin smoke?
I don't recall. I want to say, I'm not positive, but I want to say it was like Marlboro menthol or something.
And you smoked with him on more than one occasion in the
Yes.
smoke break, I guess the smoke break area?
Yep.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have. Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further, Mr. Dean?
Nope. Wait. Oh, there's something.
No, Your Honor.
Oh, okay.
Any reason to,
Yeah, I didn't do anything much.
hold this witness in the
Nothing much, really.
No.
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Mullins, you're excused.
Thank you.
There was not much to glean from this except for the procedures and what happened on the on the 5th. The cross exam, again, nothing much really came out of it outside of just
Mr. Dean, your next witness.
oh, you smoke with him and you have some kind of relations to these people. That's about it. The relationships, really. Okay.
While we're doing this, ladies and gentlemen,
Your Honor, we're waiting on a couple witnesses to come downstairs before, other than that, ready to
do you want to
proceed.
stand up and take a little stretch break? You need a break. All right.
I like
let's
this
take a
judge.
15-minute break.
Jurors will be exiting.
Okay, so let me fast forward that because they are going on a break. Let's see if I let's fast forward it a little bit more. They are going on a. Oh, they do return. Let's go on that. Again, nothing is moving the needle for me.
All right, good morning.
Oh, this is the witness.
Hello, could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Hi, I'm Melissa Gray.
Melissa.
And do you live in the Savannah area?
Yes.
Where do you live? Not the street address, but the general area.
Off of Highway 17, Ogeechee Road in Azalea.
I'm going to ask you, I can hear you, but I'm not sure that everybody can.
Okay.
So could you just, closer to the microphone would be good.
Is that good?
Yeah,
Yep.
that's much better. Thank you. Can you repeat your answer to that last question? What general area do you live in?
Highway 17.
And you mentioned Ogeechee Road.
Yes, Ogeechee Road.
And then I think you said Azalea as well.
Azalea Trail Park.
Now, how long have you lived there for?
I have lived there for about 4, maybe going on 5 years.
And in those 4, maybe going on 5 years, have you lived in the same residence at Azalea the whole time?
Yes.
Do you, or at some point, did you know the defendant, Miss Simon?
I met her at my job,
And what job was that?
at the job that I used to have, which was Bojangles.
Was she working there as well?
Yes.
And is that how you met her?
Yes.
Roughly, how long did y'all work together at the same Bojangles?
Probably around 3 or 4 months, if that.
And do you have any nicknames that you go by?
Yep.
What nickname or nicknames do you have?
Missy.
Missy?
Missy.
Oh, Misty.
Missy.
Oh, this
Exactly.
is Missy.
Anybody
okay.
ever call you Misty with a T?
No.
Do you remember a time where an FBI agent came out to your house at Azalea to talk to you about when was the last time you had contact with the defendant?
Yes.
Do you remember that FBI agent's name?
Yes.
What was his or her name?
Brad Snyder.
Okay. And where did y'all meet and talk?
He came to my house.
All right. Where at your house did y'all interact?
In my parking lot, in the driveway.
Okay. I want you to go back, kind of take yourself back mentally to the day of that conversation, the first conversation you had with Brad, okay?
Mm-hmm.
At that time, how long had it been, roughly, since you had seen the defendant, Miss Simon?
How long had it been since I talked to him the first time in my driveway or at my job, Bojangles at the time?
I mean, where was the first time that you talked?
The first time I met
Brad?
him, and I think Miss Lemons was at my job,
Okay.
Bojangles.
The first time that you talked to them, and thank you for clarifying.
Mm-hmm.
The first time that you talked to them, did they ask you how long it had been or when the last time had been that you saw the defendant?
I think so.
And at that time, about how long had it been since you had last seen her?
I'm guessing roughly around maybe a month or so. Roughly.
It had maybe been roughly a month.
Roughly, yeah.
Do you remember telling them it had been like July of 2022 that you last saw her?
Yes.
Okay. And were you telling them the truth at that time? Was that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. And that was closer in time than we are now, right?
Right.
Okay. What were the circumstances of your last contact with the defendant? First of all, was the time that you were telling them about then, is that the last time you ever had contact with her? I mean, in other words, have you had any contact with her since the police began talking to you?
No.
Okay. So then that was the last time you had had any contact with her?
Yes.
All right. Now, what were the circumstances of that last contact with the defendant? Why did y'all have contact with each other?
because she came to my house around 12 midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning asking if we had any money, me and my husband, for gas because her vehicle stalled on that back road behind me. I can't remember the name of the road right now. And we didn't have any money, but I was going to go to my stepfather's and, or not my stepfather's, my father-in-law and ask for one of his gas cans to see if he had gas in it, and if he didn't, if we could take it up to the Inmark to put gas in it.
And right now you're describing something that occurred in like July of 2022.
Yes.
This is bad.
So what happened with the gas?
This is so bad.
We got the gas can from our property manager's yard because we had called her to ask her instead. And she said, yes, there should be one right there in the yard, went and got it. And me, Leilani, and my husband walked up to Inmark to go get the gas.
And what happened to the gas can from that point?
Of course, when we got there, she said that someone was coming to get her, to take her back, to put gas in her vehicle that was on that road. So me and my husband, we left, okay? And I told her that I needed the gas can back.
Sometime after that, did you send her some text messages asking for the gas can back?
Yes, I did.
Did you get a response to those text messages?
I did not get a response at all until actually no, I did not get a response at all.
Okay, so let me just ask you about that. Was that, those text messages to the defendant asking to get the gas can back, did you ever have any in-person contact with her after that?
No.
Okay, and again, this all happened in like July of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I would like to approach with what I've marked as, well, let me ask you this. Did you show those text messages to Brad, the FBI agent?
Yes, I did.
Okay, he got a look at them?
Yes, he did.
And did they support what you were saying?
Yes, they did.
Your Honor, I'd like to approach with what I've marked as State's Exhibit 35. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, is that a Google Maps screenshot showing the route to get to your residence at Azalea Mobile Home Plaza?
Yes, it is.
Does it fairly represent the route that you have to take to get to your place?
Yes, it does.
Your Honor, I would introduce this as State's Exhibit 35.
No objection.
Thank you, Mr. Parse. It is admitted without objection.
All right. Do you see that main road at the top there that I'm highlighting with the little arrow?
Mm-hmm.
Is that Ogeechee Road?
You say yes or no?
Oh,
The
yes.
court reporter's taking everything down.
Okay. Yes.
And that red arrow coming off of Ogeechee Road, does that reflect the turn that you make to get into Azalea?
Yes.
Okay, and is that right next to the Chevron?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Now, this second arrow here, does this represent a right turn that you have to make to get to your house?
Yes, it does.
Do you live on a dead end?
Yes, I do.
Is this that lower red arrow showing that right turn there, does that take you onto your dead end?
The lower red arrow? Yes.
This arrow here?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's a right turn that takes you onto the dead end street that you live on, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any other way to get to your house by car?
No.
One moment, please, Your Honor.
Wow, that is not looking good for her. I'm not gonna lie. This is so bad. The fact that she only asked for gas, and she's not saying that at this point that she was saying she was asking for the gel, for the tooth gel. That has been the whole
Was there ever a
case.
time where she came and met up with you in the middle of the night?
That
to
is
get
bad.
more gel from you?
No.
No.
No?
Yeah, that is.
And that never happened?
I'm saying it never happened.
Damn.
No further questions.
Dang. And there's a text message as well, just to back it up. The fact that she took the gas from her. There's a text message. Cross-exam.
Good morning, Ms. Bray.
How do you clean this up? How can you clean this up?
Walk up and
Let's
look at
see.
that map.
Oh, it's a different guy.
As I understand it, this is Ogeechee Road.
Right.
This is I guess that's a left turn. And the second arrow goes down there. Where is your residence in this area?
I am, let's see.
Do you mind showing me up there so everybody can see?
Sure. I should be
probably somewhere either this or up underneath these trees.
Okay, thank you. And is that a Chevron station that you mentioned?
Yes.
That, for the record, is that looks like a big square to me.
Yes.
And you live in the Azalea Park.
Yes, sir.
And you talked about knowing Leilani Simon. Do you know Daniel Youngkin?
No, I do not.
Have you ever hung out with Leilani Simon socially?
No, I have not.
Now, it's now October 2024. And the events that are important to hear are October 2022. How clearly do you remember what happened back in October 2022 in your life?
Clearly, as in, what do you mean?
Well, who you saw, where you went, dates and times and things like that.
I am not that good with dates and times,
I'm not either.
but events, certain events, just like anybody else, certain events stand out. Considering the fact that I had to send her text message after text message because the gas can was that of my property managers, and I didn't want to get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to be something that I remember.
I think those are all the questions I have. Thank you.
That was a pointless cross. No redirect. Of course not.
No, Your Honor.
Of course not.
Ma'am, you may step down and you are excused.
That is bad. I'm tell you now. That is so bad. And I think they're gonna go and break after this as well. That is so bad for Leilani because of the fact that this was the only witness that could have saved her case.
Is your other witness ready?
Your Honor, this is going to be a longer witness. I would ask that we take our break now. Of course, okay with that?
Okay, they're gonna take a break.
As we discussed. This is going to be at the time that we take the lunch break, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, then
So
let's
I
just
am
move
going to
forward.
excuse you for lunch. I'm going to ask you to.
But this was before we go back into court. This was the only opportunity to save. I think I personally think this was the only opportunity to save her case because everything hinged around what she went to get. Did she go to get the gel? What happened? Because she said that she was going to a 204, meaning to get drugs. In this case, as I've come to understand, it wasn't a convenience store, but then she said on the audios that we listened to yesterday on day 3, she said on in the conversation in the conversation with what's his name? What's his name? I just forgot his name. What's his name? Daniel. In the conversation with Danny, she said that that Misty had told, I gave her the gel. That Misty was the one that she went to get the gel from. She said that so many times, even to the FBI, and they're like, nope, that's not true. Like, that's just not what happened. And this was the only with Melissa on the stand. This was the only chance that she had to basically set the record straight. And she said that they only took the gas, and that she only came to her to get gas because her vehicle was stalled. And she even sent a text message of the gas to bring it back because it wasn't hers to give in the first place. That is damning. I'm sorry. Like, at this point, I need to see what the defense has to say to save this case, because it's looking like Leilani went out there to dump this kid in the dumpster around this time, and the car stalled, and then she grabbed the gas and went and finished the job, whatever it might be. That's my theory now. That's my working theory. Anyway, let's get back into it and see what's going on. Let me know how you're feeling in the chat. Yeah, and also don't forget, if you're watching this back, hi. Make sure you hit the like button. And if you're watching this now with us, if you haven't hit the like button yet, make sure you hit the like button.
That what she was doing
Hold up.
was picking up drugs for the both of them.
Hold on. Okay, a bit too far there. Okay, let's go back.
Is there anything we need to take up before bringing in the jurors?
No, bring in the jurors.
Showed.
Oh, okay.
But I'm asking Greg,
okay,
the nature of the defendant's relationship with Craig, the drug dealer. And the reason that I'm asking to do that is because we believe that the defense has, I mean, I've always thought that it was an issue, but if it wasn't, it is now, by virtue of some of the text messages that the defense showed to Danny Youngkin and questioned him about, and some of the suggestions that were made in that line of questioning. The text messages were shown to him, and he was asked about them to suggest that on some of these prior nights, and perhaps on October 4th as well, that what she was doing was picking up drugs for the both of them, and what he was doing is impatiently waiting for her to get home with drugs for the both of them to use. That was the clear suggestion. As to the October 1st text messages and some of the October 4th text messages. Now, I think they did this in part because they kind of misread what these text messages signify in Defense 1, which I put in as State's Exhibit something. What they show is the defendant out having, and Mr. Youngkin kind of testified to this, although he claimed not to know exactly what she was doing. Maybe he just didn't want to believe it or didn't want to speculate. These messages show that, and here I'm talking about State's Exhibit 83, the Craig messages show that she was not out getting drugs for the both of them, and he was not at home waiting for her to come home with drugs for the both of them to use. She was out visiting her paramour, Craig. Again, they put these messages into issue. We weren't admitting any of these night of October 1 messages where the defendant says, bet it'll be before 3 a.m. and I see you. You can go out and do what you want tomorrow night. Can't come in and lay down at 2 a.m. Just go out and fuck around and don't ask me or tell me shit. They're the ones that put these into evidence. We need to be able to prove what all this was about to get around the suggestion that they've made about what Danny was doing in sending those messages on October 1 and what he was up to on the night of October 4th. Remember, we say he's just home waiting for her to finish this trip so that they can go to bed, and they are suggesting, no, he's home impatiently waiting for drugs because he's going to stay up and use them with her. So this is really what exactly was going on is now at issue. I want to point the court back to State's Exhibit 83, page 9, line 123. Does the court have a copy?
Madam Clerk to hand it up. Okay. Once again, Mr. Dean, which page?
Page 9.
Okay.
123.
Mm-hmm.
And the following messages, and the ones that come before. These are in UTC time, so to get to Eastern Standard Time for these messages, you subtract 4 hours at this time of year. So line 123, it says it's at 7:23 a.m. on October 1st. You would back off 4 hours. It's at 4:23 a.m. on October 1st, in which she's referring to this sexual encounter that just happened between them. So that is what was going on between them in the early morning hours of October 1st, 2022, when Danny was sending these messages to her, urging her to come home so that they could go to sleep, as he testified to. We think it's very likely that she wasn't just getting drugs from Craig on the night of the 4th at this point. Beyond that, and she's there for, the GPS evidence will show that she's there for 10 minutes. Doesn't take 10 minutes to buy some drugs from Mr. Craig. And so, in any case, I think they've thrown it into issue, and we think it ought to come in at this point.
Okay. So, State's Exhibit 83 has not been admitted into evidence.
No, I haven't
Yes.
offered it into evidence because the court has to this point excluded the messages and the general subject matter.
And I want to be sure of that, okay, so it's not in evidence. It has been excluded thus far, and specifically, you want the unredacted copy to come in.
There is no redacted copy.
Well, there is no redacted. Would you
I-
like it to come in without redaction?
Absolutely, because to redact it would be to redact out the relevant evidence that we're seeking to introduce.
Okay.
I mean, it's a little salacious, but it's the facts of the case that she created. I mean, I didn't write these messages. I didn't go visit Craig. This is the evidence.
All right.
Sometimes it's a little unseemly. Murder cases are like that.
Thank you, Mr. Dean. Mr. Hilliard?
Your Honor, absolutely everything Mr. Dean just said has already been litigated, number one. Number two, we didn't open the door to anything having to do with Craig. He doesn't like the fact, he's right. He's absolutely right. He could have asked Mr. Youngin about these text messages, but he didn't. Okay? I did, and he didn't like that. Two different animals. But finally, the Supreme Court of the state of Georgia agrees with me on this one. Harris versus State decided June 22nd, 2022. Supreme Court case number S22A0092. It's about a 155-page opinion, Judge. And it has to do with basically the salacious sexual text that Mr. Dean's talking about. And it directly on point says these do not come in. It's not relevant. It doesn't help prove anything. It's just to get into the salacious aspects of the case and to try and ask the jury to judge this case on character or character defects rather than the evidence in the case. So the court's ruling was right the first time. Nothing's changed. I'm sorry Mr. Dean believes that, but the facts haven't changed of the case. So the court was right the first time, and the Supreme Court of Georgia agrees with me on this one.
Okay, Mr. Dean?
May I address the Harris case, Your Honor?
You can.
It is a long opinion, and I've read all of it. I don't know about my counterpart. the holding in Harris was about a broad swath of 404B type evidence about the defendant, who was alleged to have intentionally left his child in a hot car, having a motive to do so, because, as evinced by all these text messages and things like that between him and women, and in some cases underage girls online, and his having visited prostitutes and things like that, I think, over a period of a couple months. Now, the holding in which the Georgia Supreme Court said it was an abuse of discretion to allow some of that evidence in, it was as to some of it. As to the older evidence further in time away from the crime, and the opinion, I think the opinion actually supports us. Because where they start from is, look, a lot of this stuff was admissible. Some of the more recent things, closer in time to the crime, but the state went overboard here, and the trial court allowed them to do it. If you read that opinion, and you kind of compare the timing and nature and volume of the evidence that we're seeking to get in here, to what the state did in Harris, the court will see very clearly that we are well on the right side of the line here. And there is, especially there never was any chance that this would happen, especially now. There is no reviewing court, certainly not the Georgia Supreme Court, that would find an abuse of discretion for allowing this evidence in at this point, when the defendant has introduced text messages from Daniel Youngkin to her, in which he's urging her to come home. What he was urging her to come home from, whether he understands it or not, is from the relationship, the infidelity that was keeping her out and awake all night and affecting his ability to sleep. And they put these in, and they've suggested, and even point blank asked and insinuated, that he's impatiently waiting for her to bring drugs home because he wants to use the drugs. We need to be able to prove that no, she was out banging the drug dealer, and he just wanted her to come home so they could go to sleep together. That is where we were at right now.
Right.
And this evidence should come in at this point. I feel very strongly about that.
Okay. Mr. Hilliard, I'm going to step away from the bench and take a look at what we have, but I'm going to allow you to go ahead.
I was going to say, Judge, I don't see the drug dealer on the witness list. I don't know what Mr. Dean's talking about. He's talking about his interpretation of something his witness has already testified to. He can make that argument in closing, unless he wants to bring in Mr. Weston or whoever they are and put them on the witness stand. So what he's actually talking about is his interpretation of something, which is for argument's sake.
I understand. And I'm going to step away because I feel we could go on for a while. And I'm going to take a look at the case and take it under advisement for a few minutes.
Okay.
Let's figure 15, 20 minutes at
Okay,
this
so they're on
point.
break.
And then I'll come back out. All right. We're in recess.
Okay, so they're back now. Okay.
The state of Georgia versus Leilani, the state is present as well.
Let me try and move forward along.
The court's instructions not to discuss. Has anyone done any
All right,
research?
there we go. We are back on live, so
Well, let's get
everything
ready
is live
to
now.
Begin.
I can't pause it
statement
anymore.
calls
I've lost
it.
that luxury. My superpowers have been neutralized. My superpowers have been neutralized. She can only watch in silence. Oh gosh. I hope you're getting these references. I really do. You do. Oh gosh. So the next one is up here. I don't know who that is.
The evidence you shall give the court and the jury of the trial. This issue shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
All right, good afternoon. All right, Mr. Dean.
Good afternoon. Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Yes, my name's Dr. Amanda Puentes.
And what is your city and state of residence?
I live in Dade City, Florida.
And what kind of doctor are you?
I'm a pediatrician.
Where is Dade City?
It is about 26 miles northeast of Tampa, Florida.
And where do you work?
Currently, I work at Premier Community Healthcare Center in Dade City, Florida.
Is that do you work in like an outpatient pediatrics clinic?
Yes, it's an outpatient pediatric clinic.
Okay. Are you, what type of pediatrician are you?
I'm a general pediatrician.
Okay. And how long have you been doing that?
I graduated or finished residency in 2006.
And you are here today, just to kind of put it out up front, because you were Quinton Simon's last pediatrician.
Yes.
Okay. Before moving to Florida, did you work in the Savannah area?
Yes, I worked in Savannah, Georgia from 2017 to 2023.
And where did you work in Savannah during that time period?
I worked at J.C. Lewis Primary Healthcare Center, and we have our own building that's dedicated to pediatrics.
Okay. And that's an outpatient pediatrics clinic?
Yes, it's an outpatient.
And is that where you saw Quinton?
Yes.
Okay. Let me go back now to education, training, and experience. Can you tell us about your undergraduate education?
Yes, I completed a Bachelor of Science honors degree through the University of South Florida in Tampa, Florida.
And did you go immediately to medical school, or did you work after undergrad, or what?
I was able to start medical school right after I graduated with my undergrad
And
in
where did you-
1999
I'm sorry. Where did you go to medical school?
at the University of South Florida Medical School as well in Tampa, Florida
And when did you finish up medical school?
in the year 2003.
Now, after graduating from medical school in 2003, did you do a residency?
Yes, I did a pediatric residency program in the University of Nebraska, Omaha, and Creighton University. Dual program in Omaha, Nebraska.
What is a residency?
A residency allows a doctor to kind of more specialize, or the first step to specialize in a certain area. So you have pediatrics, you have internal medicine, which is primarily adult medicine, you have surgery, for example.
And dermatology, emergency medicine, all the different specialties?
Yes.
So you did your residency in pediatrics?
Yes.
And is that essentially the first step to becoming a pediatrician?
Yes, it's, well, the first and only step to becoming a pediatrician.
And how long was your residency program at, you said, a
3
dual
years.
program at Creighton and University of
Yeah,
Nebraska?
just both of those schools funded and provided the education.
Okay. 3 years of that pediatrics residency. What did the residency involve?
It involved different areas of pediatrics, so not only outpatient, but inpatient, intensive care unit experience with the real small babies that are premature, as well as children, say that are very sick in the hospital, emergency medicine for pediatrics, psychiatric experience just under pediatric age group.
So during residency, you do a little bit of everything peds related?
Yes.
Okay. When did you finish residency?
I finished in 2006.
And at that point, did you get any kind of board certification or anything along those lines to be a pediatrician?
I was taking the board exam.
Okay. And do you hold any certifications or member?
I'm a board certified pediatrician
And how long have you been?
since 2022.
All right. Since finishing residency, have you worked as a pediatrician uninterrupted through
Yes.
today? Okay. And so how many years would that be total?
So that would be 18 years.
I'm sorry to ask you.
Going on 18 years.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, I would offer Dr. Fuentes as an expert in pediatrics.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right.
Okay. I'd like to turn now to your involvement with Quinton. Okay. Can you tell us where, when, and under what circumstances you saw him?
So I saw him as a new patient in February of 2022. He came in for a 12-month well visit, although technically he was 13 months.
And what is a well visit?
So a well visit is a physical exam type visit that we go over safety in the household, developmental questioning to see where a child and make sure a child is developing normally, as well as administering vaccines if the parent would like their child to get the shots.
Is it fair to refer to a well child visit as essentially like a normal checkup?
Yes.
In other words, was he brought in because there was any specific health complaint, or was it just a routine visit?
It was a routine visit.
Okay. And tell us about your examination of Quinton that day.
That day, I mean, he was healthy, happy. I saw him with his grandmother, who he was in care of at the time. And developmentally, he was appropriate for his age, talking, walking, everything on time. And then on physical exam, I did detect a heart murmur.
Okay. And can you tell us what you did in response to that?
So because of the heart murmur and at his age, and oftentimes my patients through this clinic I may never see again, I referred him to a cardiologist.
And what cardiologist was that?
It was through the Savannah Children's Heart Center here in Savannah.
Do you remember the specific doctor?
It's, according to his records, is Dr. Birch.
Okay. Was that heart murmur something that caused you any serious concern?
No.
Can you tell us why not?
So, a heart murmur doesn't automatically mean there's something structurally wrong with the heart. It can just tend to be, at the time when you hear it, a difference in pressure through the heart, so a difference in blood flow. Oftentimes, sometimes the next person, even within minutes, another doctor could have listened and not heard a heart murmur.
Did Dr. Birch did Quinton then have a visit with Dr. Birch?
Yes, he then, within a couple weeks, had a visit with Dr. Birch.
And did Dr. Birch get back to you about his assessment of Quinton's heart murmur?
Yes, he sent me the office visit notes.
And was there anything about what Dr. Birch told you that altered your initial impression that this wasn't anything to be especially concerned about?
No, there wasn't. No concern.
Overall, would you describe Quinton as having been in good health, happy, normal child when you saw him?
Yes.
And did you ever see anything that changed that opinion one way or the other?
No.
Okay. Prior to your testimony in this case, did I ask you to review essentially all of his medical records for his entire life?
Yes, you did.
Did you review his birth and neonatal records from Flowers Hospital in Atlanta?
Yes, I did.
Did you review some prior pediatrics records from a clinic in Waynesboro, Georgia?
Yes, I did.
Did you review some records for an emergency room visit at either St. Joseph's Hospital or Candler Hospital?
Yes, I did.
And what were those for? What was that visit about?
The visit at St. Joseph's Candler was an acute visit where he had cough and runny nose.
Okay. Pretty normal for a
and
kid.
fever. Very normal for emergency room visit.
Okay. And did you also review the complete records from the Savannah Children's Heart Center?
Yes, I have.
Right. But after that review, did you identify any documented condition that might have been life-threatening or anywhere close to life-threatening?
No.
Any reasonable medical possibility that Quinton just died in his sleep on the night of October 4th?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation.
She's been tendered and admitted as an expert. Your
Exactly,
Honor.
she
testified
can actually speculate.
That's
Yeah.
the issue in the case, Judge.
No.
It's not the ultimate issue.
I'm gonna allow the question.
Yeah.
Any reasonable medical possibility that Quinton would have just died in his sleep for no reason on October 4th, 2022?
No.
Thank you.
Yes. let's pick up where Mr. Dean just left off. Okay. Does anyone just die for no reason?
No, yes.
Okay. Who? What would be the no reason that could occur where someone would die for no reason?
There's reports of adults, elderly, that will get a sudden arrhythmia and lead to sudden death.
But wouldn't the arrhythmia then be the reason for the death?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a nonsensical question, isn't it? There's always some reason for a death, correct?
If it can be proven.
Correct. What if it can't be proven? What if you don't know the manner, method, time? Does it mean someone's less dead? No, it doesn't. Does it?
No, they're still dead.
Okay, so, but since you're a pediatrician, you're board certified, correct?
Yes.
And since Mr. Dean asked the question, I'll ask the question and take it a little bit further. Do you ever do postmortems on children?
No.
Okay. Have you ever done postmortems on children?
No.
It's not something you're trained in?
No.
Okay. The manner that you treat children, is it usually the health and wellness checks? Or have you ever done like emergency room visits or treatments?
A little bit of both, because some of the acute care can be involved enough to even call the ambulance to come to the office.
Okay. So, and whenever those children are in your treatment, okay, have any of those children died?
No.
Okay. So, when you did treat them, it was usually something that required some sort of immediate intervention, correct?
Yes.
And you got it for them, correct?
Yes.
And then they recovered, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about Quinton Simon in particular. You said you reviewed all of his wellness records and all of his medical records, correct?
Yes.
So the heart murmur was of concern and note, but you referred him to the heart center and treatment was followed up on, correct?
Yes.
And Dr. Birch, I believe it was, didn't seem to be concerned and neither did you, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So with regards to the Wayne County records, anything of note there?
No.
Okay. And I think you said you also reviewed the birth and neonatal records from Atlanta, correct?
Yes.
Anything of note there?
No.
Okay. Did you see anything in the birth or neonatal records that would raise your hackles or be of any concern to you for this child's health or well-being?
No.
Okay. Now, who was it that brought the child in to see you, I guess, in February of 2022, or do you not know?
No, his grandmother did, along with what Grandma referred to as a nanny.
All right. And that was in February, correct?
Yes, 2022.
And you also had a June 6th visit as well, or was that a different doctor?
That was the emergency room visit.
Okay, but that wasn't you.
No, that wasn't me.
But again, you reviewed those records, and again, nothing of any note or concern beyond, I guess it was a cough and runny nose, you said?
Yes, no concern.
Okay. And you're a mandated reporter, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay. Can you explain to the jury what that means?
So I'm obligated to report a suspicion of child abuse or neglect. Any concerns, I'm supposed to report it to law enforcement.
And is there any special training you go through to do this job, to be a mandated reporter, or is it just part of your normal medical training?
It is, I guess, tutorials, a few hours of explaining mandated reporter, cases that it would come up or that might lead you to be suspicious in order to report, and then also how to report.
At any point in time, did you report any suspected abuse or neglect on Quinton Simon?
No.
That's all the questions I got.
You mentioned that it was his grandmother who brought him in when you saw him.
Yes.
You didn't report any abuse or neglect, right?
Yes.
But at the time you saw him, it seems that he wasn't even in his mother's custody. Is that right?
Correct, he was.
Speculation.
The objection.
The objection is the cause for speculation,
Oh, come on.
not a medical matter for which he's qualified.
Mr. Dean, do you want to respond to that?
I'll withdraw the question.
Thank you.
No further questions.
Okay.
Right.
Anything further, Mr. Hilliard?
I think came out of that.
Okay. Doctor? Thank you. You're excused. The state may call its next witness.
Is his head disappearing?
Dr. Kenneth Birch.
That's kind of Bush is gonna be it. But look at his head. Is his head disappearing? Do you see that? His head just disappeared out of nowhere. It's like it's like it got cut. Like, I don't know. I can't explain that, but that just doesn't look normal. I know it's a white body effect, but I don't know. It doesn't look normal to me. Oh, now I can see the full head in the side back. Okay. Pardon me for that little tangent there. I'm like a squirrel sometimes. But yeah, Dr. Kenneth Birch is up next.
Come right this way, sir.
Stand right here for me, and where's your right hand?
Being a cardiologist.
Swear you will.
The evidence you shall give the court and jury in the trial of this issue shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes. You can look this way. Watch your steps, stay right there. You can adjust this microphone and speak clearly this way.
All right, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Yes, Kenneth Birch, pediatric cardiologist
And where do you work, sir?
at Savannah Children's Heart Center in Savannah.
Are you a medical doctor, sir?
Yes,
You said you're a pediatric cardiologist.
that's correct.
And are you here today because you briefly treated Quinton Simon, the victim in this case?
Yes.
Now, let me ask you a little bit about your education, training, and experience.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us about your undergraduate education?
Undergraduate, I went to Augusta College in Augusta, Georgia.
And
For 4 years.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Mm-hmm.
Did you
Just
go-
went 4 years, yeah.
4 years, okay. Did you go immediately to medical school?
No. Didn't, had a year before I was accepted, and then I went to 4 years of medical school, then I did 3 years of pediatric residency, and then 3 years of pediatric cardiology fellowship.
Where did you go to medical school?
Medical College of Georgia,
And when did you graduate?
1982.
You mentioned that you did was it a pediatric residency or a
Mhm.
cardiology residency?
Well, a residency was general pediatrics,
Okay.
so I did 3 years of that at the medical college there, and then was fortunate that they thought enough of me to go ahead and offer me a fellowship in pediatric cardiology there before I was halfway through my second year of residency, so I stayed and I did 3 years there
Our last
in
witness,
fellowship. Mhm.
I'm sorry, our last witness, Dr. Puentes, explained to us what a medical residency is,
Mhm.
but I don't think we've heard what a fellowship is after residency. Can you tell us what a fellowship is?
Well, a residency, you sort of do a lot of different things, but when you do a fellowship, you're specifically focused on one particular subspecialty. In my case, it was pediatric cardiology.
Is it fair to say that in your residency, you gain your specialty, but in your fellowship, you get a subspecialty?
That's correct.
Okay. When did you finish your pediatric cardiology fellowship?
1988.
And have you been working as a pediatric cardiologist uninterrupted since then?
Yes, sir.
Tell us where you've worked as a pediatric cardiologist.
Well, initially was employed, if you will, by Memorial Medical Center starting July 1988. and worked in the pediatric department there doing pediatric cardiology until 1995, and I went out in private practice April 1st, 1995, and formed Savannah Children's Heart Center. I've been there ever since.
Now, as a pediatric cardiologist, how do you get patients? Where are these patients coming
They're
from?
referred.
Referred by whom?
Typically, other general pediatricians.
And what causes a general pediatrician to refer a child to a pediatric cardiologist? What kind of things?
Well, there are various different reasons. One of the most common, particularly in a young child, is because they hear a noise or a murmur when they listen. We also see kids for passing out, chest pain, all kind of other complaints. But
now, can you tell us about Quinton Simons being referred to you?
Mm-hmm. I believe that Dr. Prince heard a murmur, and I think it was a new finding, what I gathered. And so he was referred for us to evaluate.
And tell us about that evaluation.
Okay. Well, what do you want to know? Everything, or just? Well, I mean.
Can you do like a 1 minute?
Yeah. So basically, when he came into the office, he had a EKG performed, which was normal. Then I went into the room, and he was there with his grandmother, and he looked fine. Respiratory rate was normal, heart rate normal. His weight was above the 75th percentile for his age. He looked like he was thriving. And so I listened to him and examined him. He had a soft little murmur, so then we went and did the echocardiogram where we actually look at the heart. And that's where we saw two minor things. One was a patent foramen ovale, and the other was a very small, what appeared to be a coronary artery fistula into the PA.
The first thing you said was you said it really fast.
Patent foramen ovale.
PFO?
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
Well, patent foramen ovale is a normal structure actually that all babies have before they're born. Okay, it's open in such a manner so that the blood that's coming up from the placenta, because mother's providing everything, is preferentially directed across that opening, if you will, to the left side of the heart. So most of it gets pumped out, to the body, as opposed to going back into the lungs, which are full of fluid and the vessels are constricted. And then after they're born and the pressures change in the heart, then it just sort of flaps shut, if you will. But very commonly it doesn't necessarily meet like it's supposed to, and takes time to close up and go away. Typically, large patent foramen ovales, about 80% of them close, small ones 90-95%. But a small patent foramen ovale is restrictive, doesn't have a lot of shunting going from, because the shunt direction changes after they're born. Okay, the pressure in the lungs goes down, so now the left side of the heart has a higher pressure than the right side. Okay, because it's got your blood pressure, i.e. in your pressure in your lungs is like a third of that. But anyway, so the direction of the shunt changes, and then what the criteria for intervening or closing it, or whatever you want to say, has to do with how big it is.
You mean surgically?
No, you can close it with devices.
Okay.
But sometimes it's surgical, it just depends. But if it's small and restrictive, and the right side of the heart is normal, you leave them alone, because you're actually probably going to do more harm than good, closing it, if you will. And his was very tight. Okay.
And Mr. Before you go further, was it PFO, FPO?
PF, foramen, FO, yeah.
Okay. And Madam